select the best trees and.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the April 2026 City Council meeting order at 7:02. If you'll rise for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, tonight we're missing a few. Councilor Ryuda, Councilor Holmes, and Council President Miller are all excused absence for various reasons. The rest of us are here. So looking at tonight's agenda, I'd like to make an addition. Number 8, adding Scappoose City Council student rep discussion and approval. We wanted to add that in there for next year's approval as number 8, and then that moves calendar down to 9 and updates to 10. So 8 would be Scappoose City Council student rep discussion and approval. And on the agenda, I'll just, nobody has any issues right now. On the consent agenda, we had appointments to the budget committee. We had some interviews. We're looking to add Jennifer Boschel for the term that ends in 2026. And Angela Handren for the term that ends in 2027 to our budget committee. I was going to put that on the consent agenda unless anybody wants to pull it off and discuss it during the meeting. Okay. Seeing that, I am looking for an approval for tonight's agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Councilor Haugen makes a motion to approve as amended. Any seconds?
Yeah.
Second by Councilor Marquis. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're at public comment. This place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to council regarding any matter not on the agenda and not scheduled for public hearing. Members of the public addressing council are requested to give their name and city of residence. Please try not to repeat questions to allow for more speakers. Speakers are to limit their testimony to 5 minutes as we're limited to 30 minutes total for public comment. Do have a timer. We do have a couple tonight. We'll start with Ms. Higas. Mrs. Higas, if you'd like to. First.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Higas, and I'm a resident of Scappoose. I'm here tonight to speak about an issue related to the Urban Renewal Agency meeting held on March 16th, 2026, where a grant was approved for the property located at 52561 Columbia River Highway. For those who may not be aware, the City Council also serves as the Urban Renewal Agency, so this is the same body that reviewed and approved that grant. I did submit a formal objection following that meeting, and I did receive a response from the city manager stating, "We will look into your objections in relation to the Urban Renewal Grant Award, and if any adjustments need to be made, we will work with the grantee and/or grant process to make sure both are in alignment with the goals and requirements for this process." However, I have not received any follow-up or clarification regarding what actions, if any, are being taken. I'm bringing this forward tonight because the concerns raised go directly to whether established eligibility requirements were followed. The grant that was approved is for approximately $33,000 funded through property tax increment from the community. I'd like to separate 2 different ADA related issues that have been discussed. The first is the parking lot configuration, which was acknowledged in prior meetings as not compliant and needing correction before the application could proceed. The second is the ADA ramp and access infrastructure itself. During the most recent meeting, the applicant stated that the ADA ramp is not up to code due to its slope. That raises a separate and important question. If the ADA ramp was installed as part of the building's addition, how was it approved if it does not meet code requirements? ADA ramps are not optional features. They are part of a required accessibility standard tied to occupancy and use. So if a required element was not compliant, it raises questions about whether the building was properly inspected and approved at the time of the improvements were made. This concern is separate from the parking issue. The parking lot configuration affects accessibility today, but the ramp itself reflects whether prior construction met code requirements at the time of installation. In addition, I want to address the nature of the improvements being funded. The proposal includes replacing windows, doors, exterior lighting, and other facade elements. While these may improve appearance, they also appear to address deferred maintenance of core building components. From my experience as a formal tenant in that building, exterior elements such as windows were not maintained by the property owner. When damage occurred, tenants were required to cover those costs, even when those elements were part of the building envelope. I want to state for the record that it was not part of my lease agreement that I was responsible for replacing broken windows, despite being told otherwise by the property owner. In addition, when pursuing an insurance claim related to window damage, I was informed that such repairs are typically considered the responsibility of the building owner and are not covered under a tenant's policy. This further reinforces that these types of repairs are part of the building ownership obligations. I also find it concerning that several of the proposed upgrades, such as exterior lighting and building elements, are expected to be maintained by the tenants. These tenants are small business owners. Shifting the responsibility of maintaining exterior building components onto them creates additional burden and liability. This not only raises concerns about how the building is being operated, but also represents a disservice to fellow small business owners in our community. Tenants should not be responsible for the upkeep or electrical costs associated with exterior lighting or structural building components like windows. These are typically the responsibility of the property owner and part of the building's infrastructure. This raises a broader policy concern. Are public funds being used to bring a property up to basic maintenance and compliance standards while ongoing responsibilities are shifted onto tenants rather than supporting true redevelopment? So I have two questions. First, if the ADA ramp is not up to code, how was it originally approved for occupancy? Second, how does the city distinguish between eligibility redevelopment improvements and work that addresses deferred maintenance or prior compliance issues? The Urban Renewal Agency meeting recordings are a part of the public record and reflect these discussions directly for anyone who wishes to view them. This is ultimately about ensuring that public funds are used consistently, transparently, and in alignment with the city's own standards. Thank you.
Thank you. You still are working on this? Some of the questions in our original email. If there's anything new in that, or do you have a copy of that, or if there's anything new you would like to look at, she'll get you that information. I don't know, can't remember exactly what was in the email, if it was exactly that or if there's any new things in there, but. Okay, thank you. Mayor Jerry Cole. Sure you don't know how this works. Oh.
All right, now I feel complete. All these poppies here, you got to support.
Sure you aren't used to this, but go ahead and state your name and city of residence, and then you've got your 5 minutes. Welcome.
All right, Mayor, Council, thank you. My name's Jerry Cole. I live in Rainier, and I come before you tonight to introduce myself. You might know me as the mayor of Rainier for the last 23 years, going on 24. But tonight I'm here to introduce myself and let you know that I'm running for county commissioner because I care deeply about this community and the direction that we're headed. After more than 2 decades serving as mayor and a career in public safety, just down the road with Columbia River Fire and Rescue as a firefighter, I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't. I've listened to people across this county during the campaign, and I'm getting the same message, and it's clear. Folks are frustrated with rising costs, lack of accountability, and decisions that don't always reflect common sense. I'm not running to be a politician. I've never really considered myself a politician, even after 23 years as mayor, but I'm running to be a problem solver. We need to get back to basics, responsible budgeting, strong support for public safety, and economic development policies that actually help the local economy grow. That means living within our means, being transparent, and making decisions that put people first. This county has a lot of potential, and I want to help make sure we're headed in the right direction, not just for today, but for the next generation. If you want to learn more about me, I'd encourage you to check out electjerrycole.com. I'm active on Facebook with the campaign, and I'd appreciate your support. And if anybody would like to chat after the meeting, I'm going to stay and watch your meeting tonight. So, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Give me some pointers, how to improve. Appreciate it. Any more online, Susan, any more? No more public comment. We will close public comment. We are on to consent agenda. Tonight, we are looking at the March 16, 2026 City Council Work Session Meeting Minutes, March 16, 2026 City Council Meeting Minutes, our 2026 City Council Liaisons, reportment of Harlow Vernwald and Monica Ehlers to the Planning Commission, reappointment of Carl Fenstermaker to the Economic Development Committee, and after interviews tonight, appointment to the Budget Committee, Jennifer Voschel to the term expiring at the end of 2026, Angela Handren to the term expiring at the end of 2027 term. So I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve tonight's consent agenda as amended.
Councilor Haugen makes a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda as amended. Any seconds? Second by Councilor Santiago. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, tonight, kind of putting some of these April and May's together, we have a bunch of proclamations. And I'm just going through these, a lot of them involve me. So these are very important and dear to my heart. And so we want to get through them. We are going to start with first one, VFW Buddy Poppy's proclamation. If you'd like to come on up. I'm going to go ahead and read this since you guys are here. Whereas the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States has officially recognized and endorsed by governmental leaders since 1922, whereas VFW Buddy Poppies are assembled by disabled veterans, and the proceeds of this worthy fundraising campaign are used exclusively for the benefit of disabled and needy veterans and the widows and orphans of deceased veterans. And whereas the basic purpose of the annual distribution of Buddy Poppies by the Veterans of Foreign Wars is eloquently reflected in the desire to honor the dead by helping the living, and whereas leadership within the city of Scappoose is built upon that philosophy, that daily decisions and actions must incorporate individual accountability and ethical character, qualities such as honesty, dedication, personal integrity, courage, compassion, love, and respect for all people. Now, therefore, it be resolved, I, Joseph A. Backus, Mayor of the city of Scappoose, do hereby urge the citizens of this community to recognize the merits of this cause by contributing generously to its support through your donation for Buddy Poppies on May 15th and May 16th for the distribution of these symbols of appreciation for the sacrifices of our honored dead. Further, I urge all patriotic citizens to wear a Buddy Poppy as mute evidence of our gratitude to the men and women of this country who have risked their lives in defense of the freedoms which we continue to enjoy as American citizens. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Scappoose to be affixed, done at City Hall in the city of Scappoose, Oregon, on this day, April 20th, 2026. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Picture two, I've got
Yeah.
the hand again.
It's been over.
Like that. Whoever needs anything, know where to find us.
I'll try to forego this. Thank you. See you, sir. Thank you, sir. See you, sir. Good, good, good.
Yep, I got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate all your help and support, sir.
Thank you.
Very generous.
She worked it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
you.
sir. Told you I would join.
Thank you.
I try to be. Thank you, sir. Thank you, John.
Oh, I gave in. Oh,
Flag over up. Won't find anything else.
yeah. I was in helicopter. Well, it depends how you ride it too. Well, we go on conversation. No problem.
They're not that busy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Jerry,
Wonderful.
Jerry, is this yours now down to two people? Good. It's only usually 3 more hours. Okay, National Volunteer Week. Do we have any volunteers here? Got a few.
We are.
We are,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. National Volunteer Week proclamation. This is obviously near and dear to all of our hearts.
Good work.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. National Volunteer Week has been observed annually since 1974 and at all governmental levels and recognizes volunteerism, participation, sharing, and working together to make a difference. So now therefore be resolved, Joseph Beck as mayor of City of Scappoose, do urge the citizens of this community to recognize the week of April 19th to April 25th, 2026 as National Volunteer Week to honor and recognize the individuals who made a difference to our communities. I noticed that the library too it's kind of volunteer library helper night as well, or week as well. So let's thank them as well. Okay, we're on to Vietnamese Remembrance Day. There's some there too, as my father served in the military in the Vietnam War. Vietnamese refugees have proudly resided in Scappoose, state of Oregon, since the conclusion of the Vietnam War on April 30th, 1975. Every year, Vietnamese Americans observe Remembrance Day on April 30th to solemnly honor the 58,000 American soldiers that included 810 Oregonian soldiers and more than 300,000 South Vietnamese soldiers who sacrificed their lives in the line of duty for freedom and democracy in South Vietnam from November 1st, 1955 to April 30th, 1975. So I do hereby proclaim April 30th to be recognized as Vietnamese American Remembrance Day, and I encourage all to join in this observance. Also National Small Business Month, and I do work for, I would consider a small business. So whereas the month of May 2026 has been designated as National Small Business Month in recognition of the critical contributions of America's entrepreneurs and small business owners. We're locally in Scappoose, Oregon. 95% of our businesses are small businesses with 50 or fewer employees. And the city of Scappoose takes this opportunity to highlight the impact of outstanding entrepreneurs and small business owners and recognizes Small Business Month is a time for us to celebrate the successes of small business and to thank our small business owners for their contributions to our city, our economy, and our nation. Thank you. Also National Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is an essential part of overall well-being, impacting individuals, families, communities across the city of Scappoose and the rest of the world. 1 in 5 American adults experiences a mental health condition each year, and everyone faces challenges in life that can impact their mental health. I encourage all residents of Scappoose to educate themselves and others about mental health conditions, treatment options, and available resources. Challenge stigma by speaking respectfully and inclusively about mental health. Seek help if they are struggling with their mental health and encourage others to do the same. Support organizations that provide mental health services and advocacy. Create safe and supportive environments for open conversations about mental health. Together, we can create a community where everyone feels empowered to prioritize their mental well-being and seek help where needed. So May is a mental health month in the city of Scappoose. And also National Law Enforcement Week. Point here by Chief Llewellyn tonight. So we will read this one. To recognize National Police Week 2026 and honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. Whereas there are more than 750,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Scappoose Police Department. Since the first recorded death in 1776, there are currently 27,347 known law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including 194 officers in Oregon. Whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their family. Therefore, be it resolved, the city of Scappoose formally designates May 10th through the 16th, 2026 as Police Week in Scappoose and publicly salutes the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in the communities across the nation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis Awareness Month proclamation. ALS, known by many as Lou Gehrig's disease, is progressive fatal neurodegenerative disease in which a person's brain loses connection with their muscles, slowly taking away their ability to walk, talk, eat, and eventually breathe. Every 90 minutes, someone is diagnosed with ALS and someone passes away from ALS. On average, patients diagnosed with ALS only survive 2 to 5 years from the time of diagnosis, has no cure, and people have served in the military are more likely to develop ALS and die from the disease than those with no history of military service at all. ALS Awareness Month increases the public awareness of people with ALS dire circumstances that acknowledges the terrible impact this disease has, not only on the person, but on his or her family and the community, and recognizes the research being done to eradicate this disease. Therefore, I, Mayor Joe Backus, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as ALS Awareness Month. I call upon all Americans to join in supporting ALS research, advocating for increased funding, and standing in solidarity with those affected with this relentless disease. Thank you. I just had another person our family's involved with let us know this week that they're suffering from that. So it keeps popping up. And then speaking of my wife and Teacher Appreciation Week proclamation. Teachers play an essential role in the development of our society, and their tireless efforts contribute to the betterment of our future. Before I continue, any teachers in the audience? Teachers dedicate their lives to educating, inspiring, and mentoring students, instilling in them a love of learning and the values of kindness, empathy, and respect. And whereas teachers go above and beyond their duty, often working long hours, sacrificing personal time, investing their own resources for the benefits of their students. So let us pledge to support and uplift our teachers, providing them with the necessary resources, respect, and recognition they deserve. And let us celebrate and cherish our teachers and express our gratitude for the countless lives they have touched, the countless minds they have nurtured, and the countless futures they have shaped. So that now, therefore, I, Joseph Backus, Mayor of City of Scappoose, a municipal corporation in the County of Columbia and the State of Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 4th through May 8th, 2026 to be Teacher Appreciation Week in recognition of the invaluable service of our teachers. Let this proclamation serve as a symbol of our enduring gratitude and admiration for all they do. Thank you. Okay, we've got one more. This is a newer one. We're going to go Murdered and Missing Indigenous Person Awareness Day proclamation. The enduring impact of colonization and historical oppressive policies are closely linked to increased violence against American Indian and Alaska Native peoples, including Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit relatives, and persons throughout the United States, Canada, Mexico, Central America, and all U.S. territories. In Oregon, spanning urban, rural, and reservation areas, American Indian and Alaska Native people, Indigenous women, girls, boys, LGBTQI+, Two-Spirit, transgender, and gender non-conforming people face heightened risks of murder, sexual assault, human trafficking, exploitation, and abduction, suffering from disproportionate visibility and delayed justice. Whereas to increase awareness and demonstrate solidarity on Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Day, Scappoose community is encouraged to wear red. So I, Joseph Backus, for the city of Scappoose, hereby proclaim May 5th, 2026 to be Missing Indigenous Persons Awareness Day. In Scappoose, encourage the community to join in this observance. Thank you. Okay, that is it for proclamations. On to business. We are here, Veterans Park Inclusive Playground Contract. Public Works Director Dave Suka and Public Works Contract Minister Mattia Malberg. You take it away.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So before we do kick off, I want to give you an official introduction to Mattia Malberg for those of you who may not have met her yet. Mattia has been with us about 4 months now, I think, and doing a great job helping us with a lot of different facets besides just contract administrators. So And I assume that she'll be before you many times in the future with future contracts, but tonight I'm just kind of pick this one up. So with that, very exciting opportunity, as you all know. The city was awarded $89,000 from the LGGP Small Grant towards the ADA improvements for the playground at Veterans Park. With that, in February, I believe it was, we were here asking for council authorization to modify that ITB to have both price and the quality of the structure design factored into this. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you. Talk about what you did for publishing ITB.
Okay. So we published the invitation to bid on March 4th, and the bids were received on March 31st. The city received bids from the following 7 firms. A select few of those firms did submit 2 separate designs. All Play Systems, Fuel Recreation, Miracle Play Systems, MRC Game Time, Northwest Playground Equipment, Park and Play Northwest, Wildwood Playground Northwest. And then, as Dave stated, we did score this based off a range of criteria as well as the price due to that prior authorization. And the range of the criteria, the creativity inclusivity was weighted at 60%, and then the big cost was at 40%. And this range of criteria ensured that the inclusive playground meets not only that universal design and ADA standards, but also incorporates that exciting and innovative design that's good. And then after careful consideration of the criteria in the bids, Fuel Recreation was determined to be the winning bid by the scoring committee with an overall bid price of $327,955. Fuel Recreation was not the lowest bidder, but scored highest in the overall playground design, creativity, and inclusivity.
Tia, I have a question. You said invitation to bid. Did you guys send out invited certain contractors? Did you guys post it somewhere? Because you didn't say where you guys.
Yeah, so we posted it on the website as well as reaching out to a few known playground companies as well.
You send them out by email or?
By email, the website, and then we did do a notice in the spotlight as well.
You go through Oregon 5, I'm just curious how you.
We did it through the spotlight, the website. Yeah.
And like our website, so there's not a municipal city bid website that everybody's always looking at, looking for jobs, looking for either recreation or sidewalk. I mean, it's
Not one that we're aware of.
so people are kind of looking for work. They see us.
And then all of the playground companies that have ever reached out to us, we reached out to them. We've kept their information over the years. And so we did reach out to all of them, including the one that gave us a conceptual design several years ago that we put forth as a part of the grant. They are one of the proposers, but they were not the successful recommended proposal. Although they did score high, I believe they were actually the second.
So I would think most companies they know every city, they're sending out their name and say, hey, if you got any jobs, we're always available. And so we have a database.
Lots of emails and mailers come out to us. Yes. So with the conclusion of that, staff is recommending that council authorize the city manager Bergener a budget of $377,000 to work with to create a contract with Fuel Recreation. While their bid was at $327,955, we'd like to have some flexibility for any overages that may come up. And there are a couple of things in the design that we would like to discuss with them, and we're going to be having a meeting with them later this week to talk about some minor modifications to it. But before we get into a situation where there is something that comes in over budget, we want to just pre-authorize that flexibility. So the intent of the contract would be to sign it at $327,955, but should something come up, I'd like to just have that authorization in advance.
Does that include the 89,000? You taking that into?
That would be
consideration?
deducted. So if you take that 89,000 deducted from that, that's the city's portion.
So it's about a 10% overage. I mean, are you also looking at
It's
potential
15
savings?
actually, but What's that?
50,000. Are you looking at potential savings projects? I mean, the things you're looking at might increase the cost above the original.
They
quote.
could increase it, they could reduce it, we don't know, but,
Prices have
there
come
were just
down,
a-
right?
there was no, of all of these, there was no design that just completely was absolutely perfect. This from Buell was the most exciting for all of us. It really got us giddy with the combine the tower and the inclusiveness of the rope climbs and things. It was the closest thing to the wow factor we had, but there were just a couple little things that we think could be modified. There's what they call the Innova rocker, which is a table that swings side to side. There's actually the ability to put a ramp on the backside of that allows you to pass through it with a wheelchair rather than having to come all the way through the structure. Just there's little things like that we think the design could be slightly better, given a little bit more budget.
When you've seen the other ones might have said, hey, this, like, oh, that would be cool. Take that little thing out of that one and put it into this one.
Yeah.
What is the green, what is the ground there most likely?
It's going to be turf. It'll be very similar to what you would see at the high school on the ball fields. It's full on.
Cushy turf.
Cushy turf. Yeah. Yeah. With all of the fall factors in it.
Good, our first, besides the football field, our first turf.
Yeah. And you know, this concept is something that's been on council goals for as far back as I can remember doing action plans for them. This has been from day one.
Our 2024, 25 goals really focused on 88, that too.
I think we were talking about it back in like 2019.
Yeah.
It's
I was
been on there
there.
a long time. So it's very exciting that this opportunity is now finally in front of us.
And not like on the next project, we're gonna talk about the streets, you listed all their kind of proposal score and all. Did you have to go through the same process and you had to let all of these guys know who you picked and they were able to go through and decide if they wanted to challenge it or do all that? And
That's correct. Yes, I did send out a notice of intent to award to all those who turned in a bid, and I did not receive any
Protest?
thank you, any protest from any of those.
Where are they located? Portland.
Portland area, I believe.
Portland area, there's a couple in Washington, I believe. Miracle Play was up in Washington, but most were from this area.
I might ask to see about any playgrounds they've built in the greater Portland area and just go peek at them sometime and see what they
The
were.
current structure at Veterans Park was actually built by these folks.
But that was another question. You have had to work with them before and stuff. Okay, well, before we do any kind of, thank you very much for getting this grant, applying for this grant. It's really nice to get free money when that really helps in today's time. So appreciate that.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
well, first, Matia, welcome to Scappoose.
Thank you.
So you'll like it here. So what was the range in bids? What was the lowest bid and what was the highest bid?
So the range in bids, our lowest, I believe, was 277, and then the highest, I believe, was about 385.
Okay. So,
right about in the middle.
so you're comfortable with it, that the lowest bid, that's quite a bit of difference. That would be
Yeah,
different.
so we actually published an engineer's estimate, if you will, of 289,000 is what we said the budget, the city's budget was. There were several of them that came in almost to a T at that, which is a little suspicious to me that how do you get that to land to the dollar of that without a little bit of markup, maybe a little markdown too. This was a little bit higher, but when we factored in, like I said, wow factor of the tower and the amenities that was in there, yes, it is higher than what
So
we
with
had planned.
the
by-
amenities, you're all comfortable that this is the best we're gonna
Absolutely.
get.
Right, there was actually additional amenities in here compared to other ones, so if you took those away, you could get down to that price as well, but we really liked what they're proposing with the goals that we were trying to accomplish with it.
The other thing that I really do want to stress here is we went through the bids pretty carefully. And these guys factored in a lot of things that a lot of the other contractors did not. They've got a small retaining wall in here. They've got more excavation in here. They've got a lot more comprehensive bid that led us to think that some of these others may have come at us with change orders once they really evaluated the site. Because there is some slope to the site, and the other companies didn't factor that in where these guys did. They actually have a small retaining wall and everything budgeted into that, which is why we think it leads to a little bit higher price range.
But you know, from the layman's view, you can buy a house for this amount. And that's where you kind of get some eye poppers.
Yeah, and the one thing I do want to go on public record here about too is that half of this cost is that surfacing. If we were just building a traditional structure on the wood chips like we have at all the other parks, you could literally cut this in half for the price.
Yeah.
That is the expense, is putting in that inclusive surfacing. And I think it's gonna be state of the art. It's gonna set our parks far a lot higher for future parks.
But yeah, but it's nice for us to know that, because, you know, when you get the question from John Q. Citizen, then, well, you can have a good explanation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was there a pre-bid, a mandatory pre-bid site or?
There was not.
That probably should, you know, especially if there was a slope, maybe that could have been just for next time, especially that they should consider that or take a look at it.
As somebody that's done a lot of pre-bids, they were welcome to visit the site, and I'm assuming that they all did. I don't know if anybody would have done this off Google since they are relatively local companies. But I don't know that the pre-bid would have changed that outcome unless we physically told them to do that. But you get some competency of the company too. You don't guide their hand through this process, that you get to see the quality of contractor that you're going to get. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm just curious because I mean, I've never worked with playground companies before. I mean, I've worked with construction companies before, and so I'm wondering if I think, are they both? Do they have the expertise of both, or if that can be two separate scope of work? You know, level out the ground and then have a playground company come in and put the playground.
Understood, but these are the subject matter experts, and these are the companies that have been doing this for decades, and they should be looking at those things and factoring that in. So,
Including excavation and all, doubling and all that.
and it was specified in there that they would have to do all of the site work. The only thing that Public Works will be doing is removing the existing structure in the chips. And it was clearly called out in the bid that they would have to come in and modify the site as necessary. They were even told that they had the option to remove the existing perimeter sidewalk and expand on it if they felt that that was value to improving the facility. And none of which actually came back with that. So,
Are they having to remove sidewalk or
no, they're staying within the confines of the existing sidewalk, but leveling that path.
That's probably big work. If there was a bunch of sidewalk removal and re-concrete, I mean, that would have been expensive. Is there any part of it that you guys can do besides removing to save?
Not likely. I looked at the prices that they were charging for that, and they're very reasonable.
They may have known because they did it before. They may have known the elevation and that they may have it in their old records of what they needed to do. Because they worked on it before.
Yeah, you could tell reading through it that they clearly visited the site, spent some time looking.
Well, my grandkids are gonna enjoy it.
Oh, I will too. You will come out and video me going down through the slide. Okay, any more questions?
It's in your budget. I'm guessing. Just
We
for the
did.
record.
We did budget for this, yes.
Do I have any kind of a motion to approve?
Here.
Counselor Santiago.
I move that council authorize city manager Bridger to budget $377,000 to work on the UL recreation and complete the Veterans Park inclusive playground.
I have a motion by Counselor Santiago to recommend that city council authorize city manager Ben Bergener to budget of $377,000 to work with Buell Recreation and complete the Veterans Park inclusive playground. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Counselor Haugen. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mattia. Okay, moving on. Number 4, contract number 2026-03- Southeast Vine, Southeast 5th. and Southeast Third Place Street and Utility Improvements. Southeast Vine, Southeast Fifth, Southeast Third. Public Works Director Dave Sutka again, and City Engineer Chris Nagelspaw with the staff report.
Just as a reminder, for the group, this is a long awaited opportunity that's finally kicking off. As all of you know, we put the fuel tax in place many years ago with the intent of this being the flagship project of that. And we're finally there, and that is a great opportunity for the city to see this project come to fruition and get this kicked off. So with that, Chris did the work of doing this RFP, so I'm going to hand it over. I just wanted to say this is long awaited, very exciting for us.
Thank you, Dave. Mayor and council, Dave gave a great kind of segue into this. These projects were identified in the transportation system plan several years before the gas tax was formed. And that gas tax had one of these projects listed in it specifically. So these were really, really important projects. So I'll just go ahead and read through this. Tonight, before you is contract approval for City of Scappoose Contract 202603 for Southeast Vine, Southeast Fifth, and Southeast Third Place Street and utility improvements. The issues that before you is to get authorization for engineering services for Southeast Vine, Southeast Fifth, and Southeast Third Place, and the utilities associated with that project. As we said before, we completed the TSP update in 2016, which listed a number of high priority projects. Several of those projects were intended to address pedestrian safety concerns to and from the Grant Watts and Otto Peterson Elementary School. And were listed in the TSP as W14, W15, and W41. Those are pulled from the CIP list, which is the capital improvement project list there. Those represent the street segments that run principally north of Northeast Third is north of Grant Watts. Southeast Vine is the east connection to Grant Watts, and Southeast Fifth is a south connection to Vine to Grant Watts. So the project will consist of those streets being built to either local or neighborhood route standard to be typical and include all of the normal amenities like street lights, franchise utilities that might need to move out of the way, stormwater improvements and those sorts of things. Let's see here. To help, and then some more background. To help fund these and other high priority street improvement projects, the city successfully passed Measure 5-275 in the November election of 2019, and that an ordinance was passed for the 3-cent gas tax to be collected as of January 1st, 2020. So we've been sort of collecting these since then.
And when does that sunset? Just off the top of my head, is it?
It's a 10-year sunset on the gas tax. Okay. Hopefully be able to keep it around here a little while. Additional funding for these improvements will be available from the city's street SDC fund, and as well as just the street fund. The reason for the use of the SDC is because we are expanding capacity by adding sidewalks. There's also some ability to fund out of the other SDCs because we're improving capacity on the storm and the water system as well. So just as a side note there. The contract 2603 before council this evening is specifically for the engineering design work associated with the project. Public Works, myself developed and issued the RFP on March 4th, 2026. The city received 4 responsive proposals from the following firms: 3J Consulting, Kittleson Associates, OTAC, and Stantec. Proposals were evaluated by city staff in accordance with the criteria indicated in the RFP document, and then the scores were tabulated below by the by the team. And the protest period for this procurement concluded on April 17th. And no protests were received. And there you can see the scoring. I didn't highlight the top score, but it's, see it there at the top of the list from Kittleson. Financial impact is that at the conclusion of the proposal review and selection of Kittleson and Associates, a scope and fee was received, and the fee totaled the $225,000. We feel that that's an appropriate fee based on the projected engineering costs for the street improvements. The city's 2025-26 and upcoming 26-27 budgets have identified and budgeted for this project. So our recommendation tonight is that council authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Kittleson Associates for the Southeast Vine, Southeast Fifth, and Southeast Third Place street and utility improvement projects in the amount of $225,000, and also approve a 10% contingency for unforeseen project changes. There's a lot of homes that will be impacted by this project that just have amenities in the right of way that will be needing to adjust, make minor adjustments. I believe there's 22 homes. So there may be some things that we can't anticipate right now related to that. So our suggested motion is council authorize city manager enter into contract with Kittle Associates for Southeast Vine, Southeast Fifth, and Southeast Third Place and utility improvements in the amount of $225,000 and approving 10% contingency.
Kind of following Joel's earlier questions, were these all, price wise, they were all fairly close?
We couldn't ask for price because it's for engineering, it's for consulting services, so we could not ask for pricing with this. We had to base this on qualifications only.
And then how do you know
So you
what
select,
the price would be after you select them?
so after you select, then you negotiate on a fee.
Okay.
And if it's in that expected range, then you typically would select.
And so how many linear feet of sidewalks are we talking about overall?
In the full RFP package, which I have here tonight, I don't think you have copies of the full
Mhm.
package. You don't actually. In the full package, I list out linear feet of sidewalk, water line, all the storm, linear lengths of street, number of homes that are impacted, the driveways. It's all detailed in the full RFP, which I can send you.
Just kind of looking at this map, I
I
mean,
want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2,000 combined because it's dual down both sides.
Yeah.
So
Both sides.
It's about 1,000 feet linear from Elm down all the way to Sixth.
so 6 all the way from the high school to Vine.
That's on Fifth.
No.
Yeah, Fifth
Yeah.
to Vine, and then from the school all the way to Sixth Street down Vine, and then from the northern entrance in the Grant Watts Auto Peterson all the way to Elm.
Third, all the way to Elm. Wow.
So
It's a good sized project.
Yeah,
So
The other thing I wanted to point out, just as a question, or maybe a question, you'll see that the interview scores are NA. There was in this RFP, the option to interview, had we had a proposer that we weren't familiar with and needed to get to know them. Every one of these 4 has done active design work within the city and does it quite frequently. So there was history with all of these that we didn't need to get to know them all. It was actually for me a little bit tough because these are all highly qualified companies. But there was a winner of who you could tell took that extra initiative to design into their proposal, to talk to the neighbors, where some of the others didn't really factor that in. And I think that's helped what shows over on this one.
are we having to, do we already have right away to all the property? I mean, on the 3 foot here, I mean, are we taking into anybody's?
we have sufficient right of way on all the streets, which makes it a really compelling project.
Challenges are gonna lie is that some of these homeowners are using dual access, which doesn't meet code, and we're gonna have to work with them, and that's where this working with the homeowners is so valuable to this project, is because we're gonna have to be compromising and finding ways for their properties to still function as it currently does, but meet our design criteria. So it's gonna be challenging, especially getting down through Vine Street. And drainage issues on place, so.
And they have driveways that come down to the current road, so you have to basically cut those back to the right of way, basically. And when you do that, the grades may not match up. They'll be off by 6 inches or a foot. And so we'll have to blend that back into their property, a distance.
Yeah.
And if any of you are familiar with Fifth Street, you'll realize that every rainstorm it floods substantially. This is gonna remedy that, and we're really excited for that part of this too.
Yeah,
So where is that drainage gonna go?
Into the ground. We're gonna be using UICs to remedy that.
On dry wells.
30 to 40 houses, maybe, I'm guessing. I'm just looking at.
So it's reasonable. Yeah.
And then, again, it's not gonna be affected if a bond passes on the new school, it might be down there, that would be great. That will actually help because more people will be walking to the mid-school as well, right along.
Yeah,
Fifth.
and any traffic pattern changes won't affect our design for this. Everything will be designed in a manner that's capable of.
Handle
they
all
move
the
forward.
buses, if all the buses go through there, it will handle it even.
Oh, yeah. And we're actually going to be doing ADA ramps on the south side of High School Way with this project and doing dual crossings on Fifth across High School Way as part of this. So it'll really help pedestrian, traffic across High School Way and get kids on sidewalks.
It seems like it's gonna be an improvement as far as sidewalks but if very properties are gonna lose property.
No,
No,
not at all. No, we have all the right of way we need.
They're gonna feel like.
Could be a little inconvenience at times, I'm sure, but
Sidewalks may be a little closer to their houses than they had,
Yeah.
anticipated, but that's where the right of way is. People don't often realize where that.
And when this isn't the first time we've encountered it, when this comes up, at first, some people are a little apprehensive. But as they get warmed up to it, or they see what the improvements have actually done to their street, they're usually very receptive at the end and thankful. It's just that initial,
but they're gonna say, are you going to my property? And then that's.
We will, though, have to get some right of entry, obviously, to do some survey work. And then also, like you said, these improvements have to blend into their yards, into their driveways. So we'll need to have the contractor, we'll need to be allowed to go onto their property to fix those connections. So as a part of this, the proposer had put in some strong language about coordinating with the impact on homeowners, doing a site walk, scheduling, sending flyers out, meeting with all of the homeowners, doing a site walk, just being there on the road, talking to them about their specific issues, what the project entails, and then doing another follow-up. So there'll be a lot of interaction.
What kind of staff time is gonna be put in?
be a fair amount. And any one of these large projects consumes quite a bit of our time. There'll be weekly or bi-weekly meetings throughout with the design engineers. There's going to be some interaction with the public, even though the consultant has that. There's walkthroughs with them. There's going to be a scheduled walk with an open house. Once the design is done, we'll have an open house here where all of those residents can come and have all their questions answered at one time. So there will be a lot of interaction, but with capital projects like that, they're all. The other thing with the price that I wanted to touch on is that this is a good number, and we know that because the engineering costs typically are a percentage of overall project cost. And this comes in at 12% of what we're anticipating the overall. Typical engineering range is about 15. So they're actually a little bit under what we would have guesstimated this to be. So price is a good price.
That was my question, is what is the overall budget? About 2 million?
Give or take, yeah.
And timeframe, like engineering, when would that be done to when they actually would start digging?
All the engineering work is anticipated to be done by before the end of the year. So we would have full contract bid docs, sometime in mid-December, and then be ready to bid in January.
So ultimately, this project will be done fall of 2027. So they'll be doing most of their pavement and street work while school is out next summer is the goal. There'll be utility work and things to be done during that spring. Get up for that, but once school is out and the buses stop going through there, it's a great opportunity for us to get concrete on the ground and get pavement down. So
And is the whole street gonna be new pavement?
Yeah.
The middle,
These are
sides,
total
everything?
reconstructs. Yeah.
And I know Kittleson to be a solid company. They're reliable.
Oh, yeah.
What's the latest project they've done for us?
They're working on a little paving project in the southeast part of town here. They did the West Lane project from Crown Z north to Wagner Court. That was a project they did. They did Charles T. Parker Way. That was their project. Those two projects represent nearly $5 million in street improvements.
Great.
Including the consultants. They did both of those. And they actually back in the day, they actually did Crown Z from the highway to West Lane. That was a city fund.
All right. Any more questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
And Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Kittleson and Associates for the Southeast Vine, Southeast Fifth, and Southeast Third Place Street and Utility Improvements Project in the amount of $225,000, and also approve the 10% contingency for unforeseen project changes.
Councilor Markey makes a motion to authorize city manager to enter into a contract with Kittleson Associates for the Southeast Vine, Southeast Fifth, and Southeast Third Place Street and Utility Improvement Project, the amount of $225,000, and also approve a 10% contingency for unseen project changes. Any seconds?
Second, let's go ahead.
Second by Councilor Haugen. Question, discussion.
Question, I just want, for the record, do we want to put the exact amount of what the number to be, or is this that we did last year's motion?
10% would be 22,500.
For the record.
Adding 22,500 is a 10% contingency. All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate it. Go get them. Man, everything takes forever. Start. There. Okay. On to number 5. Back into our work session now. General fund level service. We've been talking about this. We made it part of our all-town meeting. So here to tonight, Assistant City Managers and City Planner NJ Johnson with the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council. So we got into this and quite a packed meeting agenda a couple weeks ago. Just to remind us all where we are, we're really trying to right-size the general fund going forward in the next couple of years here. We have had several discussions about what our expense side is going to be. We sort of settled generally on, if you recall, scenario 2, which we are calling quality operations. That's that little bit of middle ground between it's not quite bare bones, it's not quite aspirational, doing the things that top tier cities do, but it's somewhere in the middle. It's quality operations. It's sending our employees to training. It's doing all the things that well-run cities do. We went over some of the more discretionary items, like the things that are really more of like a policy and council level programmatically to continue or not to continue. And we got some feedback from you all, but the general consensus was go out into the community and get some more feedback. And so like the mayor just mentioned, we had this be our central theme of the annual town meeting back in March 7th. And we had a discussion after the mayor's State of the City address, and then we also had a breakout activity where I think 39 people participated in that. So with the feedback we got from that, where the nuisance abatement, annual town meeting, and emergency management were programs that people absolutely no hesitation wanted to continue doing. And then there was like some mixed levels of support about things like Chamber of Commerce and other economic development stuff, Earth Day and Outdoor Summer Festival, the Community Enhancement Program, which that one is actually, last meeting, we were able to solidify, go down to 20,000 and only limit it to organizations based in Scappoose. So that's going to help out the general fund a good bit. And then the senior center, where we even had folks from the senior center saying that 20,000 that used to be given to them is no longer needed in the same way that it was when they were trying to get going, get through their audit and all their IRS issues. And now that they're doing well with bingo and their other revenue sources again. And then police, we will talk about in a little bit. But what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to really narrow down these discretionary programs on a continue or not continue basis. And the reason for that is then that gives us as staff a number that the general fund costs to run general fund-esque operations at a baseline level. And then that number informs us what number we need to reach with all of our revenue tools. And then we need to start exploring, do we need then some kind of general service, public safety, parks fee type of thing to be established in order to help us meet the gap from where we've established our level of service being to what our current revenue sources together build up to be. So we can start in any of these areas, but first, are there any questions so far? Okay. So let's go into we'll just go in the order they're in here. Let's see on the first page. So nuisance abatement, this is one that we've talked about a bit. It is on a technicality basis, it is a pass-through cost. Normally, there is a budgeted amount. Almost always, even when staff spends time and resources going and abating nuisances, we're able to collect it back through a variety of means. So it's not necessarily just a minus expense. It's kind of a neutral expense. It's just the way budgeting works. But is there any objection to moving forward with the operation of keeping, or the assumption of keeping nuisance abatement?
What do we have it? What was the budgeted amount?
12,000.
And so we use that and hopefully we recover that from the people. But so we might get it all back. We might not get any. So you can assume maybe all 12,000 could be gone. But have we been using it the last couple of years?
Some years, yes. Some years, no. The most that it's been used in recent 3 years is up to 7,000. And then there are years where 0 is used.
And I do want to note on that, the times that we don't recover those funds are usually when there's like a RV that's left on the road that we have to get towed and take care of. I don't even know whose it is. There's no way to recover and there's no way to auction it off. It's just kind of somebody left there and it's broken down. There are some times that we don't recover, but yeah, there's a net intent that if it's a property owner abatement, that we will bill it to them. But the other point of that I was going to mention is we did add the code enforcement officer last year. So these have increased. We started doing more code enforcement than they had done in years past. And it was always within the police department. But having a designated person has helped in the proactivity side to actually address those and give them messages and notices out to those. So it's still kind of unknown where it's going to fall, but it has increased because of that.
With that, I actually, the number of the abandoned cars and vehicles are going up. I think, I'm not sure if it's just Oregon or wherever, but even in your report, excuse me, Chief, that I did see that number go up as well. And so, for example, we budgeted 12,000 and we only used 10,000. Would that 10,000 be rolled over to the following year? Or is that, how do if the money that's being used, does that go?
It just goes back into the general fund. I mean, anything that we do not spend in general fund, any of our expenses that we budget, just goes back to the fund balance for the next year to be used, either for that or for anything else. I mean, they all kind of funnel to the same place in the general fund.
It won't go up to 14 the next year
No.
if we don't use 2. It just stays at 12 unless we're seeing that we need to increase it or
Right.
decrease it. I personally, I guess, would like to see it because it is, money that we are using to beautify or to keep Scappoose safe and
Mhm.
clean. And I think it's worth it, especially if we can recover some. Maybe you get a history of the last 5 years, how much we've spent on it and how much we recoup, but I don't think, I personally would like to keep it on there.
All right, next up is Chamber of Commerce. So I don't want to spend too much time on these little ones that are like $1,200. That's, we could spend $1,200 worth of time talking about it pretty quickly. So Chamber of Commerce, Greater Portland Inc., Columbia Economic Team, which as we know is dissolved, but now that amount goes towards Sierra and her programming right now in order for us to house that at a city level. So let's focus for now on Chamber of Commerce and Greater Portland Inc. These are Chamber of Commerce, I believe, is 1,200 and Greater Portland Inc. is somewhere around 2,000, something like that. It does give us some, especially without CET, it does give us some really important recruiting pull. And so by being a part of that organization, we're on the radar of these, search firms that are helping find land, available developable land for these businesses that are seeking. And then it also gives us opportunities for training our staff. There's a lot of free education opportunities that we utilize. So I really think we get more than our bang for our buck for 2,400 or whatever it is.
What I will say about Greater Portland Inc., when we first started putting this on the list, it was before we took on the Columbia Business Alliance,
Yes.
the assets from CET. So it's become more operational than it's like before, because we do utilize that now that we don't have CET to help with. They do help with a lot of recruiting. We have Business Oregon that does industrial recruiting when they have their prospector site, but GPI, the Greater Portland also does that in Portland, Greater Portland area, and they do additional recruiting and support for us. So it has moved a little bit more for that. It's not a huge expense, but I do think I agree with Angie. It provides much more needed benefit than it was maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be more a category of subscriptions or memberships or something?
It is. Yeah.
Right. Like I say, originally this was kind of a, do we value it because we had CET and them and Business Oregon, but now it's moved more operational, I would say, because taking on the CET's assets, doing the Columbia Business Alliance has kind of more moved that into our operations. It's just kind of migrated since it was here originally. I would just, at this point, probably taking off, just have it as an operational decision, because whether we use it or not for economic development is kind of, we decide if that's the benefit or not. Compared to before, it was an added service if it was their value to keep that. But,
Yeah, I look at it as what you would recommend on that, because you guys are getting the use and service out of it. I started listening to some of the Greater Portland podcast, or, some of the meetings online. I've been going to the last couple, and there's good information. And if you think it's worth it now, then I would definitely think it's worth it.
Okay.
What's the ROI in the chamber?
So the chamber membership is about 1,200 a month. What's that?
A year.
Or thank you, a year. $100 a month, yeah. It's about 1,200 a year. The ROI on this stuff, I mean, there are ways you could calculate it. It's just kind of do you value its existence or not? Like we are as one of the cities they serve, we are part of what supports it and allows it to exist. Do you value its continuation or not?
And I would ask them to use this more somehow, so build that relationship if they're a part of it. But also with the dissolvement of CET, looking at opportunities too, what it's going to change now. What other opportunities do we have to help them or?
Move that to
right, with the
operational.
CBA, the Business Alliance, we've already started reaching out a lot more to not just this chamber, but all the chambers in the county to build those relationships and share resources. So I'm hoping that will reflect back towards us how much more they and we are able to partner together.
I would just continue on that one then.
Okay. Next one is annual town meeting. It's $3,000 a year. We spend pretty much just that. So it's the right number right now. Obviously, all of the data that we're using today to talk about this is kind of allowed because of the annual town meeting. And this year in particular, I think we've brought the event to another level. I and other people on staff and have heard from some of you all that this was one of the better ones that people have attended. So I think the event is moving in the right direction and it's at the right amount right now, in my opinion.
We even got mayors from other cities come to this one.
Mhm.
I think so. I would like to keep, be cautious of our spending there and try to get stuff donated. But at the same time, I don't want to ask all of our local companies to donate. We're here to support them as well and get their name out and buy product from them as well. But be conscious of it and try to keep it down. And then again, if we need to have a reason to have that meeting every year, come up with something good to give to the community other than just a quick update of our biosolids dryer. We want to give them something and get something back from them as well.
I agree, because I try and think of it a lot, and I would encourage you all to, we all, share this room a couple times a month. What if you're not someone who engages in city government all that much? What is actually going to get you out? And you could watch the mayor's update online. You could go to our website and see what we're doing. But to actually have your opinion be heard and valued, that's what is going to get you to come next year. And so I completely agree with that point of continuing to have a breakout activity, whatever our main public project is of the year.
But it's a great time to get with all the other nonprofits and our other community partners too, and get everybody together in the same room.
I have a question. Would the cost go up if we decide to have it live, like the hybrid version of it?
No, it's just a little more difficult. We do this for free on our Teams and YouTube accounts.
Saying sometimes maybe not everybody can.
Yeah.
And then if they see it and then they, okay, maybe next time I'll go.
We do record it, and it goes on YouTube so people can watch it after. And I will say we used to live stream it. I think we've done it 3 years and we've had 0 people attend on the broadcast. Okay, so annual town meeting, Earth Day as a solo $1,500 outside of the community enhancement program to the library. We can kind of combine this conversation with $10,000 to the Outdoor Fest. No, combine the discussion. So it's 1,500 for Earth Day that you all have done in previous years, 10,000 for Summerfest. And again, this is kind of looking forward in our budget in the future. If we want to keep.
Is that through CEP though?
No, this is one-off donation to the library for the events.
And this was a discussion also that in the ATM they brought up that Earth Day and the Summerfest are both brought on by the same organization. They felt they were very similar. Their recommendation, those who attended, maybe combining the two or reducing those, and then with council, we had also discussed during the retreats what direction we're going to go, whether we're going to fund these as a contribution or look towards having staff that support instead. One of those recommended opportunities either to fund some or not at all, or keep going. That's really up to the council or our budget to decide on.
That's probably why we had probably 11,500 last year, because 1,500 of it was Earth Day.
Yeah.
I always thought it was the same. I would be more like letting Earth Day apply for the CEP grant, see if they qualify or be part of that if they wanted funds versus just automatic giving them money. And then Outdoor Festival, that's going to be a tough one because I don't mind supporting and helping it, but things could change. I mean, I'd like to speak more with JJ and Jeff after this to see their plans going forward.
Would it be maybe the same suggestion that we move them both to CEP for now, for next year, and take it out of the budget, or do you want to keep some amount in the budget designated just for that?
Just know if we're going down to 20,000 and you're limited to 5 or whatever in CEP, they're not going to get 3,000. They're not going to get their $10,000 for the
But they have more access to sponsors than like we do for like the ATM, for
I
instance.
just know right now, I get the sense that if we cut too much, they'll cancel. Cause I think they were asking us for 20, 20 and when we 10,
Counseling, not, aren't they?
yeah,
I'm an advocate for scrapping this CEP program completely, maintaining Earth Day support and some kind of festival, whether it's sauerkraut, outdoor fest, whatever you want to call it. So we maintain that as, we've established that as a goal, our community festival, so, which includes the annual town meeting. So if we line out, not for this year, but we line out for next year, the CEP program, and then we've saved $20,000 right there. And we've maintained the essential things that we've established as goals.
Right.
well, we already kind of decided then on CP to reduce it this year with the
Yes.
idea of possibly ending it the next
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
cushioning the blow. Do the same for the festival is looking at 10,000 in the budget, but thinking that going forward, it will probably be, we'll come up with our own, we'll come up with a different funding mechanism
Right.
or fundraiser or run it ourselves.
Yeah, and that's the thing to keep in mind is that, eliminating or, moving around more so the 10,000, it doesn't necessarily mean that the event is going away. It just might be a difference of who's working on it or to support staff positions that already exist. But those kinds of things would sort of help us in our goal to right size the general fund.
Well, in fact, I pointed out in past conversations that using the Tonya Jamboree as an example, that the city contributes a very small amount to that thing. Less than $2,000, yet it
Mhm.
draws huge numbers of people. It has established a continuum. It's very, very good for the community, but it's a volunteer-based activity. But that doesn't happen overnight. You got to build that up incrementally. So that's the challenge.
Yeah.
And you have to have that. You have to have that alpha person running that.
I just think if I'm to decide tonight on, I guess we can't really vote on it tonight, but if I'm gonna take 10,000 out of the outdoor fun festival for the next year, right? Because we've already budgeted this year, coming up next month. I'd like to hear from all 7 of us counselors and make a vote on it.
I think it's an important thing for the community to have that, and I would want to defund it. And I also think that consolidating those two things would be bad. I don't think they should be consolidated. And I kind of like Joel's idea too. There's like, we've got this Whoville thing that's taken off. And like, in the next quarter, there's an annual meeting. The next quarter, there'd be Earth Day, and kind of like 4 quarterly events that serve as focal points for the community to get together and sort of celebrate cool stuff that's going on.
Would you feel though, okay, telling Earth Day that going forward for funding, they would have to just apply for the CEP grant to get the funding that we?
Well, I mean, that's assuming we have a CEP
Right, yeah, for
program.
next year it might be going.
And Earth Day is a smaller contribution. So it's
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Is that also for the movies in the park?
No.
That's separate.
And those are things we could legitimately address at the next annual town meeting. So let's do some brainstorming. How do we keep it and build it? And we can use some examples like the Vernonia Jamboree as kind of a star on the hill here. And so how do we get to that level? Because Scappoose has to be as creative as Vernonia, right? And so if other communities can do it, they're all across the country they do these things on a volunteer basis. So what's their secret? And so, and we used to operate the Sauerkraut Festival like that. It was largely a volunteer activity.
Yeah.
And the city didn't contribute that much to it. And
Do you
so
know who ran the powwow? What group?
Yeah. So how do we get back to that point? I think that's a problem we can address at the next town meeting and work on it throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that comes from the organizers who's actually doing it compared to, there's 3 ways. Either the volunteers, the organization's a volunteer base, like the community club they're putting it on. So, and Powwow had a group that, I think it was the community club, that Action Club, or whatever the name was, that helped with that at some point as well. Compared to this one with the Outdoor Fest and the Earth Day, we're actually paying the library to do it. Is where the money is going to the Scappoose Library, and they're sponsoring, or they're doing the event pretty much at our, the cost that we are giving them. If we went up to 20,000, which was their request, it's just paying for their staff time. Or you have the city that has their own staff that runs these events, and then it's just our staff time. And then we typically, on those things like the Jamboree or whatever, like for example, in Stanfield, we did that as a city. We just had our staff time that went into it, but it was, they made money off it every single year. It wasn't something we lost money on.
Right.
So there are lots of different ways to go about it. This current model is very much not in our control because it's not our event. We're paying the library to do it based off their requests for funding.
We haven't done anything in a while until the 100-year thing, and we budgeted 110,000. Then the next year we realized that's probably too much for just a regular event. So we did, before my time, I think we budgeted 90.
Well, but then we also got about $70,000 in donations.
They didn't cover everything, but they got some back.
Yeah.
And then we said that is probably too much. So then we went to the outdoor festival and it went down to 10. So I think we're heading in that direction. But we need to kind of know now because you're putting it in the budget.
Well, and I can put it in the budget, we don't have to spend it. And it's 10,000, it's not gonna make or break the budget. It's just more of that conversation of, we can continue to have that. But preliminarily, Joel mentioned the Earth Day, but maybe not the Outdoor Fest. That would be $1,500, and we could designate that and make sure that the moving to the park are taken care of. But then we focus maybe on a bigger events. That's kind of what we talked about during the retreat.
And we've had this conversation before also.
Right.
And that was kind of the stimulus for a youth council. We're taking the steps to get that going. So if we can get a robust youth council going, we can leverage a lot of manpower and energy from the high school.
Okay.
And so I'm hopeful that we can get to that point at some point. We're not there now, but we can get to that point. So.
I don't think you guys have the capacity.
It never is just one staff person. They're kind of the one that, can make the ultimate connections and make sure that the group is consistently meeting and has what they need. And this gets me to my point about Joel and a youth group is that one of the things we're working on in the background is thinking of the different types of volunteer groups, like committees and action groups and things like that. And one of them would be action groups where they are incredibly nimble and they don't have to have public meeting law because they're not doing policy, but they're just a group that has a specific task, normally like an event. And then they can just be agile and be on it and be very focused in doing that. So that's one of the things we're working on is putting together a framework for a group like that to put on something where it wouldn't take too much staff time, to Jeanette's point too.
Well, then I would be fine leaving it in there, but not necessarily saying outdoor fun festival. It's 10,000 for festival. And then as we go forward, we'll see if that's it.
Okay.
If they propose and ask for it, or if we use it for something else. And then same with Earth Day, or we say, it's good for this year, but going forward, at least for next year, because we don't know to get that funding, they'd have to go through CEP, which is in May. It's coming up soon.
Yep.
So they'd have to apply for next year now.
Right. Okay.
Again, like you said, if we put it in the budget, obviously, if you're like, we're 10,000 short, we're really needing to find it, then we'll talk about it. But if it's in the budget, we don't have to spend it. We can.
Yeah. Right. And the biggest thought process that we had talked about in the council retreat was if we're going to put a staff person to help get some of these events going, to coordinate both recreation programming events and other things like that, that would be a way to help pay for that by taking away that we're giving to other organizations.
Right.
Help our staff actually provide a lot more of those things.
Did we talk about, remind me, about changing the criteria for the CEP?
The eligibility, yes. So it's just, so the dollar amount is less of the grant. So you have 3,000 as the max. And then for eligibility, you have to be based in Scappoose.
And that goes right into the next one. 20,000.
Yep.
Organizations based in Scappoose instead of those allowing outside.
And that one you all have given us direction on at the last meeting. That was the one thing I made sure we squeezed out of it in our limited time.
Yeah.
but yeah, I have advertised, I've sent letters to all of the groups that applied last year, including the ones that aren't eligible, and put together a letter explaining our situation and why that decision was made. But the ones that are eligible, that application packet was included, so.
And also remind me, if we have the question like, what is your event or the money you use for, what is it gonna, what impact?
Yeah.
Do we have an impact question?
Mhm.
Are we good moving forward so far?
Yep.
Are you good on the senior center?
Well, that's the next one, yeah. So to reiterate again, the 20,000 that they were getting originally was because of some audit issues with the IRS that they were going through. Now that that's resolved and they have their revenue streams going again, like mainly bingo and the bread store and that kind of thing, they're operational again. And they were even members of the senior center at the ATM saying, we don't need that anymore. And they haven't asked for it in the last 2 years. And so we've put it in the budget, but it hasn't gotten utilized. And so just kind of looking for authorization to repurpose that elsewhere.
One is, again, lowering it to 10,000, but they have to apply for, they have to come to us, say, hey, we have a HVAC system out, something we can't afford, and we can vote on it or not, or taking it out altogether. I mean, they were having DOJ, we brought in help from Portland State to really get their board up. And like you said, they got bingo back. I just saw today, they've added another day of food. So now they're doing lunch twice a week again. So I'm
Can we put
open.
that in the CIP?
You could lump
Yeah.
it in there. Like I said, they haven't asked for it for the last, since I've been here. So
Yeah.
it's been more of like a budget placeholder, but we've done nothing with it. So it's not, more than anything, it's just taking it off the budget because we're not using it anymore. Because they don't have the need for that.
I'd leave it in.
That's 10, not 20.
10.
Leave it in, but then put some stipulations of it's got to have a reason. It's not general. They don't get it. They have to.
Can they just apply?
Well, CEP, they're limited to 3,000 and there's 20 total.
But they
So
haven't.
Exactly. And, I know these things feel like one-off, but, when you get like 10, 20 and 40,000, you start adding these together, then you're talking about a person. And
just drop CEP from 50,000 plus. CP was over 50. If it goes to 20 and this goes to 0, there's 40,000, 50,000.
right. So what I'm saying is it adds up, and, earmarking it in the budget means that, even though we have in our heads that they might not apply for it, it is a number we now have to count for. You could.
Well, then-
I think 20,000 for an experimental year is the right number, but you could.
You're saying like raise CP to 30 and, I mean,
If you guys want it there, might as well. use it, and
I just,
I mean, we can keep it as a placeholder, move it down to 10 this year, and if it doesn't, next year we can
think
go down to
we're
0 as well. Just move it all towards.
this was something you put in the budget and then the budget committee will talk about it too and recommend, and then
Mhm.
we'll vote on it, right?
It kind of, in the budget specifically, doesn't break these down
Right.
individually. It'll just be like economic development. So it doesn't really take all these like we're doing right now. Typically as a staff level thing. However, since these are kind of more community-based topics, we want to bring to the council ahead of time to kind of get, or if you're okay with us removing that, we've only had them there because it's been there for the community, but a lot of these haven't even been used. Or some of these things need to be repurposed towards having a person do programming, event, to actually provide some of these services out there and be that cheerleader for the community.
Yeah.
For continuity purposes.
Well-
or we can redirect it to. Festival.
Right.
Yep.
Once again, it's towards that
Right.
recreation event programming, which is
Right.
what the original proposal when we were talking with the retreat was, let's shave these off because that's gonna help fund a person. So that we can actually bring that staff.
If we're getting rid of it all, I'd like to have the whole 7 people here, but they're not here to vote on it. So our budget meeting is next month, so you like to have a budget to go. What do you, if we told you to put outdoor festival 10,000 into, what are you gonna label that as?
It's all just gonna be general, so I'm not super worried about
Right.
this upcoming year budget.
Okay,
'Cause we just
well, I
wanna
was
use
gonna
it
say,
again.
just do the same for
Right.
senior centers, put that in that same
Let's
fund.
keep it general and then you guys can still have time to
Earmark.
work through that
And it's down, so it's, there's saving there, or
Right.
not as much, and if it isn't used, then the next year, take
Okay.
it out altogether.
But what I'm hearing from you guys though is that this, it sounds like your perspective is we're shaving this off so then we can afford to hire somebody. So we're not actually right sizing the budget, if that's what your goal is, right?
It could be both. I mean, we're looking at cost savings to provide, we're looking at cost savings and resource allocation or how to get resources that we're not currently using so that we can get to the level of services that we want. So the conversation was, do we want a recreation programmer in the community so we can help get things like the Sauerkraut Festival, powwow, and these things that these other community organizations stop doing that the community values because no one else is doing them. So you need somebody who can do that. So if we, that's one option is to shave off current expenses so that we can replace that. So it's not really savings, but it's going towards that level of service. In some areas, we're reducing expenditures just because we're trying to save money as well. We did that in the budget this year also. And then the third option is, we've been going through the budget and we're going to continue going through that, saying, well, how do we get more resources, such as increasing our franchise fees, looking at public safety, other fees, looking at the economic development resources that are coming in and the houses. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're looking at to right the ship, but it's not just to get us to where it's not just to get us to be balanced today.
Yeah.
Because if we want to do that, we could shave off 4 police officers and our budget would be balanced. It's to get the budget where we want it to be based off level of service, based off of what the community is wanting us to provide. And it has been really loud over the last couple of years that police are important and recreation programming and parks are important. Those two things we're trying to come up with ways to make sure that we have the resources allocated to provide those services at the level of service, if possible. If we can't get there, that is another discussion, but we do believe we are able to get there.
To your point, I think you're right. It sounds like you already have in mind to bring someone in for that position, just saying. So are you thinking part-time? Or are you thinking a full, FTE?
Right. Yeah, we talked about this in the retreat. It was Counselor Kim's one of her recommendations in the council. We talked about reducing some of these expenses to other organizations so that we can provide the service ourselves at a less expensive and more quantity level. I mean, paying $20,000 towards the Outdoor Fest is a one-time event. We're putting that towards a person. We can provide several events with that person. And not just that, I mean, 20,000 is only so far, but if we can get enough of those resources reallocated, then we're able to fund eventually a full-time recreation coordinator. But currently, the way it's structured would be to have we'll have that as NJ, so it'd be part-time, that with part-time assistant to the city manager, kind of hybrid position to get up and running. And then as it gets up more and more, it would transition into a full-time as it starts recovering its own costs through programming.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things we're looking at is our public safety, and I don't think cutting a few of these is gonna get us to the, officers. So we're looking at more of that general fund or that fund versus the recreation person, I think is more, you can get some from savings and then possibly some from, the balance from a fee.
Right.
And so this is, I think, more to, save to be able to get that going.
That is an excellent question and a good point to make.
Okay. Did you get direction there?
Only one left. No, I did. Only one left is discussing police. So I know in the staff report, it's listed as, 12 through 16 FTE or what have you. I want us to focus and think about this way more in the sense of what are the actual list of outcomes you want our police department to achieve? Is it 24-hour coverage? Is it double coverage at all times possible? Is it, do you want someone full-time detective? All those kinds of things are things that we can talk about. And we obviously have our chief here if you have any kind of questions to help us set the level of service. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah. Go ahead, Chief.
yeah, so about that particular position, and a lot of things are with those special positions, you're actually internalized. So we're not hiring an additional FTE to replace those people. That makes sense. So we have officers who are in patrol positions and hiring them to have additional duty, which is a lot more cheaper than going through the background progress and all that stuff too as well. And also gives our opportunity for officers to have some career development so they can stay within our localized police department versus going to larger metropolitan agencies as well.
Right, one of the goals we really wanted to kind of reframe this a little bit is the chief is responsible for his operations of delivering, how to deliver policing to our community. Do they need a detective? Do they need whatever to accomplish this goal? As NJ mentioned, and we did go out to the community just to kind of get feedback of, once again, more going towards that, what's that level of support for policing? We obviously had that feedback 2 years ago. The community really wanted to keep the police department. And then over the last 2 ATMs, we talked about levels of service, and there's really good feedback of, they're definitely willing to pay to increase our levels of service, which is great to hear. So we've gotten feedback from the community that yes, they're very much interested in both parks and in policing, that we want to have really good levels of service compared to years past. So when it comes to the council now, it's more of the policy side, not digging into how chief runs his department. That's, he decides if a detective is going to help offload the other 8 patrol officers' duties to make it a benefit for him and for this community by reassigning one of them to that role. It's more the high level. We've heard a lot about 24-hour coverage, dual coverage, that safety of having somebody, those two kind of, with this type of staffing level of 14 or 12 FTE, is hard to have both. I mean, we could get to 24-hour coverage. And when we're talking about 24-hour coverage, this is 24-hour Scappoose police coverage. Because currently we have 24-hour coverage, but we're using, on-call time for the off hours. So it's not somebody here 24 hours a day. So is it important to have somebody here 24 hours a day? And if so, or if not, the other big question is on that dual coverage, because going 24 hours a day may leave some of the nighttime police officers by themselves, but we still have coverage. Whereas if we didn't do the 24-hour service, we could have dual coverage and make sure there's always 2 police officers beyond their sergeants and chiefs. So
Well, that's actually a question I would ask the chief to
Yes.
respond to. Do we need 24-hour coverage? Or rather than do we want it? Do we need it?
Well, if you look, very great question, Counselor. If you look at our calls for services during that coverage set that we have, it's relatively minimalistic. I will say for the community, though, and other places I work with outside of the state of Oregon, 24-hour coverage is really the standard for a lot of places. But it comes down to what our community, I believe, wants and feels better with. When we do have that coverage gap during that time frame, it is beneficial, of course, if there is an emergency, to have an officer on duty who's able to respond a lot more quicker versus being called out. But those situations can always happen, right? But they're used, generally speaking, few and far between of those what we call P1 or P2 calls, which is our top priority calls, sir.
Well, just looking at this, I mean, we didn't ask a lot of people, but you got an idea that 37.5%, 14 officers. So can we break it down to show kind of what 12 officers is giving us in ways of coverage? How many times it's on call without being real specific? We don't need to let everybody know exactly the hours.
Yes.
But what is 12 officers getting us? Because that's no additional. Obviously, our budget isn't covering completely. We're having to, even if we just stay like this, we're eating into our reserves.
Right.
And then what is 13 officers getting us that 12 doesn't? And then what is 14? And then over here, you kind of break down, how much we get for, none is 8.3%, $5, that's one person.
No, so this is a different thing. So the amounts on page 72, that's what people would be willing to pay in a general service fee.
But okay, and $5 though, what does that
Yeah,
translate in?
one
How much money is that? Is that take us to 13, does $5 get us one more officer at our current budget? But you're still gonna be eating to our reserves, but if we add, what is $5 getting us? What is $10 getting us?
Yeah, and that, in addition to that, you mentioned level of service. Did you guys discuss what that means exactly?
That's kind of what I'm asking on 12. What is, what is 12 officers, 13, 14? Because I want to be able to take them more to the community and see where they're feeling now. Here's our couple options. Are you willing to pay 10 more dollars if that's getting us to 14 officers?
Right.
24-hour coverage, someone on duty at every hour, might be one person, but someone's always on duty. Do you feel that need that yet? But actually, you're saying $10 is just helping us get a little, not have to eat into our reserves as much. We still going to need to do that, even if we stay at 12 officers.
If I can.
Right, Chief,
Mr. Manager. So if you look at, generally speaking, for every 1,000 persons, there's supposed to be roughly 2 sworn officers. So if we look at that standard nationally, approximately, we're kind of below that. Also, too, just think about for the future, too, as the city continues to grow. Since my time being here for the past 3+ years, great time, love the city. I've seen a lot of improvements and a lot of the community grow very big too as well. So it's just trying to also prepare for that continued growth that we'll have here in the near future when it comes down to it. And level of service, a little bit different than obviously when you have a business where you get a product from there. But I think the level of service is having visibility, having an officer be able to respond to you almost relatively immediately when you have an incident occurring, and through 24-hour service. And also, too, a lot of people don't see, we police officers too, we get hurt. We take time off and training too as well. And sometimes with coverage shafts are now being covered by, like currently right now in our police department, by other officers who are now in overtime and even costing more money. So it's a whole bunch of different things to kind of think about from there as well.
Well,
Right, and when you talk with people in the community, it's also respective of where they live in the community a lot of times, because some areas feel a lot more safe than others. Depending on what type of person, they may say, oh, we need more, because I hear stuff all the time, and others are like, safest community that ever existed. So it is difficult. Chief definitely gets the most exposure to what that looks like. What we did provide, Chief provided this graph that showed kind of the call levels broken down by 4-hour increments. And it does show, in the middle of the early mornings, it's definitely the lowest call volume. That's not in here. This was a prior packet.
Yeah.
I think it's been a month or two since we had that one out there. Didn't get a lot of time to discuss it. And we don't have to have a finite answer today. I'm just trying to plug in the budget in general. The general feedback I got was it seems like, and kind of even feedback from the chief, as he had mentioned, standard in the nation's 2.5 officers per 1,000 or 2.3 or something. Oregon's like 1.8. We are well below both of those. So getting up to 14 officers doesn't even get to that. If you're looking at benchmark compared to other communities, and that is one thing to look at. The safety of the community and how many calls they get is another thing to look at. There's a lot of things to look at. 24-hour coverage compared to not. And that's why it's more just coming to the council. We can figure out those specifics. But when it comes down to having that person on call, so when you look at the graph from a couple months ago, it's very minimalistic. Is it needed to have dual coverage? Probably not, because they can always wait for backup if it's something extreme. They call them P1, P2 calls. Every month there's only 2.6 of those. Those are the highly sensitive, risky calls. The rest of them are just more follow-ups and checkups. So having one person, maybe there's not as much liability or risk for that one person when it's just at night.
Can they call county or state sometimes to see if they're close by instead of waiting for an on-call city guy?
Right. So we can. I know that they also have sometimes some coverage challenges as well, particularly Oregon State Police at times. So
I keep thinking that we're going about this backwards, in that, like, obviously 12 isn't the ideal staffing that you would like, but we can't even pay for 12. So, like, I would ask the public, like, hey, how much are you willing to pay extra so that we could meet our budget shortfalls for our current staffing level?
Right, which is what
That's the
72 was
survey.
asking.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, if we were charging $20 for a general service fee, then that would be making up our.
It would be, depending on what level we go to, yes, and not completely. So there are several triggers we're looking at. We're not trying to cover this completely with the general service fee. This is one option. It'll make up a good portion of it. But we do have several businesses coming in. We have over 150 houses coming in. We've, like I said, we've updated the franchise fees. We're looking at a couple other options as well. In the end, we're trying to get a comprehensive plan, not just hitting all of our residents. We want to come with many different ways to get the same goal. So we're probably not going to get to net zero in 1 year by implementing this. We're going to get much closer. We're going to have a better idea of how much further we have to go. But what we do want to do this fiscal year is get something there so we can stop the bleeding, like shorten that bleeding a little bit so we can focus the reserves on the projects that we want, the community is wanting. These grants that we have and other projects, so we don't just whittle those opportunities away. So just stop the operational bleeding to some extent. We haven't hired a full 12 FTE, but speaking on that, it's been budgeted at 12 FTE since 1990 something. Like it is not.
Yeah, it's not new.
With the city growing and comparing to other cities our size, 12 is not a good standard to go by. This city's done really well at being really short-staffed, and that's why I think the public is really on board with getting a better policing coverage, because it has helped us increase our general fund. That's one way to go about it, but it also is at a risk of our coverage levels and being, there's lots of other opportunities and problems that come with really short staffing police departments, which the city has gone through the last decade. So
I think it's also, I don't think our police department has been this good in a long time as far as its leadership. And I'm not just saying that because you're in the room, but it's been taking a long time to get it to where it is right now. So because of leadership, because of personnel, I think we've never gotten to that point because of people. So I think we can build a strong police department, especially like you said, you've gone through the process of saying you can put this at the county and then people say no. All right, so then we need to build a strong police department. For me personally, for the safety of the police officers, I would be great to have them like 2 officers just for safety reasons. But get there eventually.
I would think that, it says each additional officer beyond the 12, but I don't think we're looking at growing it. I'd like to see a survey go out to everybody based on our budget is for 12. Here's how much money we get in our general fund, and we're $300,000 over that each year at 12 because we're not, our general fund isn't covering our 12 officers, correct? Right now we're
Correct, yeah.
eating into our reserves every year. What are you willing to pay so we don't have to eat into our reserves as much every year? If you pay $10, then we will save $300,000. I'd like to see increasing a fee, I guess, $5 or $10, but keeping it to 12. That's to me to get there and not hemorrhaging every year or not in the red every year. Are you willing to pay $10?
$10 what?
Per month
Per month.
on a bill? And then that tells us, okay, because what's our reserve? Let's say it's 6 million and we say that we have eight years before we're going to lose.
Yeah.
If we add $10 to the bill, we're extending that out or allowing us to.
right, it's gonna be less than that because we have these park projects associated that will eat into those.
Yeah,
reserves.
we have a lot of
But
other things, but if our goal is to not be negative every year in the police budget, then we want to ask for $5 a month will help us.
Right, the point of what we started with this is we could just start with we have 12, let's cover that. But then we came to the conclusion that if we're going to go out looking for money and trying to right size our budget, let's get it at the size that we're actually wanting to go for at the police, because the community wants a good police department that is sustainable. And saying, okay, well, if we're going to do this anyways, let's see where that's at. We may not get there, but that was the goal, is let's actually look at those numbers of where we should be at, and let's budget and project and come up with ways to get there, as opposed to just trying to cover where we're at right now. And that's, so yeah, that like if you did between 10 and 15 with the $5 parks fee, that would cover a huge part of the deficit. Then we want to wait though, that slows the bleeding. I want to wait for these other projects to finish up to actually see what they're contributing before we actually go to the full amount. Because I want to reduce or limit the amount that our community has to pay in a fee. I want to try to spread that out and be as conservative as possible and keep it as low as possible for as long as possible. As opposed to just, because we could come with a total budget number of $1 million, say, okay, now we need 28, 30, whatever it is, but I think that's overshooting with not considering the other projects that we have already in place and the other measures that we're taking. So I want to, the goal would be to get to at least some, like you said, let's cover the 12, let's keep working on these. All these other things are going to get us to 14. Let's get our parks coordinator, which has been, and our parks amenities, all these things that we have as the priorities, and move forward with those. It is kind of a moving target because we keep going along as costs rise and punting this down the road. So,
But before I agree to like increasing it, I want to know, I want to hear from the community in a bigger setting through a survey, what they're willing to pay, what they're going to get, showing them what they're going to get. So when we do this, we could say, look, we've asked you guys, this is exactly what you're getting, and we have measurables to show you. And I still don't understand exactly if it's $10, what they're going to get. But I don't see how much does $10 bring in? Is it $100,000 a year? Is it $320,000 a year? Is it gonna?
How many water bills do you send out, for example?
2,800. So $10 is, I just did it on my phone. $10 is 250,000 a year. 20 is 500. Our deficit is about 600,000.
So I think kind of follow up on Marty's point. I think step one here is to find out what is our community going to go ballistic at? You know, so first, it has a very clear, on the next one or two water bills, it says, this is what we're facing. Okay, what are you willing to do or not do about this? And so, and if you don't respond to this survey, then we assume that it's a yes, you don't care. But I mean, you have to couch it appropriately, so that we're getting a legitimate feedback, because, you know, the community, the annual town meeting is not a representative sample of the community.
Of course not. No.
But that helps. We're 600K in deficit every year. If you pay $10, that's 250,000 additional. So we're 350, and that's at the same level of service we're at this.
Yeah, and so you put it in black and white like that. Okay, here's what we're facing. Okay, we're hemorrhaging X, you know, based on our budget. And so how do we adjust that hemorrhage, or do we just ignore the hemorrhage and then go out of business? So.
well, I do want to make one parallel with our utility system. If your utility system was bleeding and you had water going everywhere, would you tend to send a survey out to the community and say, okay, tell us what you think about our water system? Or would you make the adjustments needed? I mean, we are going through, we've done a lot of public outreach. We're going to continue to do public. I'm not saying we don't do public outreach. So we've already done 2 ATMs on this. We sent out surveys about this, about the police department, about these fees. We have results on those. We're going to probably do some additional of those. I'm not quite sure what exactly you're wanting that we haven't already done. We've gotten feedback about paying for our.
I haven't seen any, I mean, I've seen very little feedback. You're seeing St. Helens down the street getting bombarded and has to go to voting. I mean, how many other cities are doing utility fees? I haven't seen that.
62 that I have record of right now. And there's more.
Yeah, what are they averaging? What are they for? What are
Over
they
20
getting?
per month on average.
$20 per.
If you take all their service fees, yes, that's the average right now.
I'd like to be able to show the community.
Right, I
We're
get
one
that
of the
stuff.
very few we never
And
have.
that's my point. We can preempt the conflagration here by couching, educating population what we're facing here. Okay, we are facing a deficit problem. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So how do we deal with that? And what are you willing to do, you know, as a member of the community? Now, we don't know what that answer is. And so St. Helens is going to be, you know, at critical mass here.
Well, St. Helens, their issue is they already had a service fee of $10 and they had a parks fee, and this was over 10 years ago. Then they came out with a $35 fee this year. I mean, that was quite a big jump.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of forced upon. What we're trying to do, and we've been doing for 2 years since I've been here, we've had meetings, we've sent out information. We're going to continue to do that. I don't think we're quite in the same area that you're describing, because we have been describing in our ATMs. We've talked about our deficits. It's in our budget. We've sent out surveys. We've sent out the ATM stuff. We can send out some more, but I guess what I'm hearing sounds like we're back at square one, nobody knows, where I'm not quite sure what more we're gonna get as we continue to do as many surveys as possible, or if you want a town meeting, another town meeting around that, or
But no, I
What?
mean, we have to figure out a mechanism where we can get a legitimate cross-section of the citizenry. You know, so what are they willing to support? And so we have to figure out how to do that.
I think we're, I don't know, correct. So, but I think you want more of the majority as in to have input in it. Yeah, not everybody showed up to the town hall. I'm not sure about how many people responded to the survey.
right? So here's the one thing I do want the council to consider, and we'll do that. We'll send out some more surveys. I'm not saying we're not gonna do that, because we are. And that is part of our plan. One possible way of accomplishing that has been recommended, you send that to the voters. Now, here's the problem. We have a deficit that we need to face, and we need to fund, just like if you had a water system that we were having to have make upgrades on. You take to the voters and say no. What St. Helens did or said, they're gonna do it anyways, which is not a great way to do anything. That's just gonna tick people off. So why'd you send it to them in the first place? Typically, how the cities are run through this is they do it just like a water fee or a sewer fee or a street fee or a garbage fee or whatever. They implement it and then they receive the feedback depending on how big it is.
Well, that's my whole point here, is setting the stage. Okay, so, okay, if we want 12 officers or we want 14 officers, what are you as citizen A, B, and C willing to do for that? And what aren't you willing to do? And so if we don't know the answer to that question. And so it'd be nice to set the stage. So be going into this, we have some sense of where the community lies. We don't know what that is.
I think they're gonna say, the majority of people will say, I'm not willing to pay anything, unfortunately.
Well, let them say that.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need, I mean, let them say it and then we could do it either anyway.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
at least you've given them the opportunity and you've set the stage.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes,
I'd
Councilor Sunday.
like to make a motion to extend the meeting past 9 p.m.
Motion to extend the meeting past 9 p.m. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Councilor Haugen. All those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. What kind of direction then are you looking for from us tonight?
Yeah, no, good question. Like I said, we're not looking for a final answer tonight anyways. We've been talking probably more, like we're needing one of that, and that's not really where we're going at this time. We still plan on many discussions before anything goes into effect. So we do want to come back with actual projections and like say that some of those surveys that we were sending out. Really, I guess for this project is just more we're setting the budget together. My plan was to put 14 because that's the general consensus I kind of heard that the council was most comfortable with, that the community was most comfortable with. Not that we will fill that, but it'll just be budgeted for and then continue those conversations. One of those things to note is one of those FTEs is a school resource officer, which the school has budgeted for this year. They just talked to us this last week, which is paying a portion of that. So it's not actually full FTE that we are paying for. It's only the beyond school resource officer that we would be paying for. So that's whether it's half or a quarter of that position.
Would they be reporting to chief or would they be reporting to somebody else?
They're reporting to the chief, but they would be housed mostly at the school during the school year. We have an office there is what we talk with the superintendent. Those discussions are still ongoing. They had just mentioned that they have a budget there, so nothing has been finalized, but they have expressed that interest of bringing in this next year, which is once again, when we're looking at the two beyond the 12, one of those was a school resource officer, which we're not actually fully paying for as a community. It's through the school for the most
So it's
part.
almost 13.6, 13.7. I mean,
Probably, yeah, 13.5 or 13.2,
Yeah.
because they're going to cover at least half, if not more of that position. Depending on the hours needed and service in there, depending on how what they have in there. So we are working through those and chief is working through that process. But yeah, so really it's not much different than what we've already budgeted for. We're just looking for that one extra position outside of regular, outside the school resource officer and a regular FTE because the school is for the most part paying the other one. My goal was to put 14 in the budget. Just want to make sure we had support to put it in there, but we are not hiring anything else beyond that position for the school resource officer if that gets finalized.
an informational sheet, just like a one sheet kind of with not, just kind of ask that question and then having Earth Day be this weekend, and I'm not sure if it's enough time, but to get that type of information, maybe have something. I know we've done it before. I think it was Grabhorn. But we wanted to get the input and just, hey, this is what this means, this is what's going on, maybe have it in where the police department is, maybe the city, or just having, that's another way to get people there at the Earth event, and I guess not just survey in the mail, but also survey people while at the meeting.
I'll talk to him to see if there's anything we can do. I'll probably be sitting at a booth this Saturday, but it's in only a couple days though, so we'll try to come up with.
But my suggestion is that for the next, we're gonna be eating this, we're gonna be dipping into the reserve this year for sure. Okay, for the next 6 months in the water bills, you have the identical survey that goes out to every ratepayer. And so that's your, however many, 2,800 people or households. Okay, it's an identical survey, and then you here's the problem. You address it in black and white. Okay, and if you have 6 opportunities to respond, and if you don't respond within 6 opportunities, then we go with whatever comes back. But then you have a base to work from. Okay, and so but you've given them ample opportunity, given the citizenry an ample opportunity to respond. Now, what are you willing to do? Here's what we're faced. We can't do this. We can't continue going down this path forever without adjusting our fee structure. So do it, and then we have something tangible we can resort to, then we can point to.
I would, yeah, like a QR code that they can look at their bill, but I want to come up with the question and what we put on the survey.
But it has to be absolutely black and white and clear. One thing, we 14 officers. Okay, that's the indication that this community wants 14 officers, 24-hour coverage for public safety. There seems to be support for that, but we don't know if there's support for that. So over a 6-month period, the identical survey that goes out, like Mayor said, a QR code comes back, and at least we would think you would get 30 or 40% feedback
Should be at
20.
over 6 months.
But I give a thumbs up for 14 on the budget. I mean, if that's what you're budgeting, that's kind of the number we see a lot of the higher percentages there. It's a good number. Now you're budgeting it for, so you're taking, it has to be a net zero budget, right? So the money is coming out of the reserves to cover that.
Right.
And then we ask.
Yeah, I might keep it at 13 or 14. I just want to make sure the general support.
Yeah, I mean, I think that gives me something that's done, and then it's like, okay, here's how much that costs. Here's how much it's eating into the reserve. This is what we're thinking. We'd like to not eat into the reserve so much. This is the direction we're gonna go on a bill. At the same time, here's parks. We want $5 a month for parks, so we can do this and show them what that will go towards.
I just worry about one thing for the police right now. That's all I worry about.
Yeah.
And then after we solve that, then we'll go to door B.
So people want to know, how is that going to affect me? What does that mean for my safety or my family's safety? What does that mean for my quality of life? Whether it be the park, whether it be police, whether it be the parks, whether it be police officers, that's they want to know, how is that going to impact me, and how is that?
Right, and I can hop on that real quick. Not taking much more time, but I think it's just what type of policing you want. I could tell from personal story, I was victimized, and I live in Washington State, and I had to file a police report when somebody broke into my car and stole my little infant son's bag. And I think the community here likes to have a person like we do and pride ourselves at SPD of showing up. You're not talking to a robot. You're not talking final report, but actual officer showing up on scene. I think that's a big thing. And also, I like to just put on the record too that our department proactive trying to save money. We have a police department vehicle that was donated for Albany Police Department, pretty much for free, and that's about $80,000 just to equip a police department car. It's older, obviously, but we got new decals on it. And looking through grants to try to just save some money too as well to reduce the burden on the taxpayers. So And it comes down to those things that you really can't put by numbers, I guess, about your interaction when you're having face-to-face conversations with people when they've been victimized. So looking forward to the conversation, and unless there's any other questions for me right now.
I'm trying to picture a robot showing up at your door.
That one, that, or-
19, in one day it might be, but I think people like that face-to-face communication. That's something I think we do pretty good here at SPD, because I know other organizations, I name names that outside of the county, I mean, you can have thefts happen or something, and it's very personalized, and you're not going to have an officer show up. And that's pretty much the end of it, so.
So I do ask Ben, if we are gonna ask the residents about 14, why can't we ask about 16, which is what is really needed? I mean, what would that be the difference as far as cost? Would that be in dollars for them a monthly?
The only reason I haven't recommended that is because Chief recommended that he could do it with 14 for what he feels the community, what their current needs are, based on what we've heard from the council and based off safety. So like say that national average is a benchmark. Then you go back and look at what our actual calls of service are, what our safety levels are. And it may get there as the city grows, but at the current level, Chief's recommendation based off his staff was he felt comfortable at 14 to start.
Okay.
And once again, as we go through this and we get that feedback, as like say, planning on doing anyways, whether it's 6 months or whatever in there, just as Councilor Markey had mentioned, consider what is the plan result with those, because there are different types of levels of service there are different types of responses you get from the community for different types of scenarios. Sometimes it's a survey just to get general feedback. Sometimes it's to get more of the direction. Sometimes they want feedback. I mean, there are 4 different levels typically that people look at how you reach out to community, to the community, whether it's just informational, hey, this is what we're doing, compared to we want your feedback, compared to we're going to give you feedback based off your feedback, compared to your part of the planning and everything in there. Because it's important to consider those, as I mentioned before, because if it comes back in a way, depending on the type, I like to use the water bill. If they came back and he's like, well, I don't want to pay an extra $50 for our wastewater system, but there's no way to have wastewater in our community, you may get a bunch of no's, but it's something you have to do anyways. That's almost slapping the community if it's a decision you're gonna have to make anyways. Unless you're worried that we should go back to 8 or we should go back to 10. And if that's the case, you know, that comes to our hiring decision of, okay, if we're really worried about that and that's where the council wants to go, for sure put a hold on that. That's not the direction I received when I first got here. Let's get up to our 12. We've stopped at.
Currently at, including myself, we're at 11 full-time employees with the police department.
No, I think I ran on public safety in the 24-hour, and I think what you've shown us 14 in the community kind of been saying that, and with detectives and SROs and other opportunities, I think that's good, kind of that middle of the road aspiration. It's not way up there yet, but it's probably what we can afford. So I think that's I don't need to go out and ask the community if you want to get to 14. I believe that we feel that that's where we want to be. So in my community, we want to get to 14, and this is what it costs. And, you know.
And that type of communication would typically more be, this is where we're going, and we're letting them know what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's going to be this fee. This is our plans to do it, compared to, hey, we want your feedback to support this. And if you don't support, we're going to do it anyways, because that causes a lot of PR nightmare.
And I think on that end, I think I want your recommendations of where we need to be, the call logs, all that, what we've learned over the last 3 years kind of gets me there. Now it's how much, do we want to eat into the reserve fund every year, and how much do we want to kind of cut that off sooner the better, is where I represent all the people in my city, and I want to kind of hear from them before they knock down the door by just doing that.
What if we just said, hey, this is coming in 6 months, right? And give, every month they've got an opportunity to come down to these meetings and make a ruckus if they want to.
I think, and so still the outreach should be informational.
Right, and there may be a way to continue, like I said, we've done this question asking people to support that, and we have asked them. People have shown thus far, these are more of our civically minded residents who come to the ATMs. And there might be a way to hybrid some type of survey that's telling what we're doing and just trying to gather general support, but not like a yes, no, we're gonna do it, but just trying to get feedback. Like maybe we could have you, hey, give feedback on this is what we're doing. We'd love to hear from you or something. I don't know, there's probably other ways to do it, but that's the point I was trying to get across is for what we are trying to accomplish, is that the right type of outreach, or is it more informational? Is it more?
Yeah, basically the citizen just wants the facts.
Right.
That's all they want. And so my more, my more conservative neighbors are gonna say, okay, why?
And it wouldn't be nice to have all 7 of us here, because we're all gonna have different opinions, but it might be where here's where we're going. Here's a couple options we're looking at, just to be heads up, this is coming. If you have any questions, here's what our meetings are. Here's how you get hold of us to give out your feedback. But we're getting together for the next couple of meetings and deciding where we want. Versus sending out, trying to get 1,000 surveys and then let's decide what they're.
Right, and part of that point is the regular citizen, or I would say probably anybody, including myself, doesn't really know the difference between 13 and 14 FTE of police. They're like, I mean, just make sure that I'm safe, please. Like, make sure you're providing. I want to be able to pick up my phone. I want people to respond. And I want to be safe. What does that mean, or how much does that need? That's really where chiefs' recommendations and benchmarks come into place. We already kind of know that benchmark. It's just how are we going to get there? Unless there's a feel that the community for sure doesn't want to fund a police department in that type of fashion, and then a lot more of the specific questions might come out.
And that's what we don't know. We need to know that.
If I can too, though, sometimes people change their minds about police departments from defunding and then saying we wish we had them back, and then you're trying to recruit people and start from ground zero. I mean, that's happened recently too. And last thing I'll say for law enforcement, I mean, we're not like Burger King where we don't give you a burger, but if you have a safe community, you attract businesses, you attract people who want to live here in more commerce inside the community. I go through a large metropolitan city every single day. I see some of the effects of.
Well, I think that's why a lot of citizens move here, because
Correct.
of the safety.
I'm very
We've
positive.
only heard good things.
So I think we need more Mayor Backus's videos
Yeah.
on social media,
We mean
talking
more
about all
That's
of
not a
it.
bad idea.
comedy in our
Yeah.
Scappoose Police Department Facebook.
That's what I vote on.
Hey,
We'll do that with some informational flyers out there in
Yeah.
the newsletter, as well as on Facebook. Other avenues to send out information, let them know what's coming. We're not going to start today. We still
Right.
need to come up with a dollar amount. We're going to have some more conversations with the council as we go through probably the next 6 months to come
But
up.
the reality is it takes a lot of time for it to percolate in.
Yep.
And if you just repeat it, it's like in the classroom. You have to repeat and repeat and repeat.
That's
for it
like
to-
social media.
Or we'll put it on the work session on every meeting for.
That's also why I put in the last 2 ATMs, and we've been taking years to go through this as opposed to just overnight. We really do want to just keep the message going,
Videos.
give people a chance to respond.
It can be down the slide with a park.
Yeah, all right.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Nope.
Um,
good discussion though.
I think, are we still, anything come up where we need to meet on May 4th? Still think,
No, yeah.
we're still looking at canceling the May 4th meeting, so I'm looking for a motion to cancel May 4th city council meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion that we cancel May 4th city council.
Motion by Council Marquis, any seconds?
Second.
Council Haugen, second. Discussion 2 is that we are gonna have some budget committees. We're gonna have some extra meetings in there too. So we will be together several times in May.
Do you have a May 18th to May 4th?
The reason we did talk about that, one of the reasons I'm gonna be going on vacation that week anyways on the May 4th. But secondly, because budget meeting is the week after that, for staff time, getting ready for the budget with all the deadlines, that kind of takes a lot more priority and timing. It'd be hard to come up with a good solid council meeting and then try to turn around and get a budget meeting right away, especially since we have to get budget meeting packets out before that council meeting would be. So it'd just be adding on a lot on the staff.
Since to have the budget meeting before council versus vice versa.
Right.
Looking at my schedule, I am not going to be here on May 18th. And if we're going to do all of this stuff on that date, that might be conflict. I don't think I would need to be there for you guys to interview a new person, but
So we have you here tonight to go over that with.
Exactly.
That'll be kind of a sidebar.
All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, we have time for this, city manager contract amendment follow-up, city manager. Ed Bergener.
Yeah, this was, the council had asked to move it to this meeting. After last month's meeting, we had the performance review. Came out of that and the council had approved the initial merit increase, but had asked to move the two contract amendment requests to today to discuss, as well as get additional information with the paid vacation time request going from 11.34 to 13. That it was asked what the other direct reports were making. Our ranges were in the personal manual between 8 and 16.67 hours, with the average of my direct reports at 12.8 hours a month, and 13 hours as a median rate. So right in that same area, that first request. Yeah, let's just start with that request. I mean, we can do them both together. The second one was the 2% towards a deferred compensation.
I hadn't got any feedback from anybody else that's not here. You know, I had looked at it. I'd like to do something, but I wanted to get feedback from everybody on exactly how much. On the vacation time accrual, you know, I thought of either moving it up to the 12 or the 13. Based on everybody and the retirement, I wanted to kind of throw out there, instead of a percentage, a certain amount, like $100 into a, you know, like a 403B or your 457B or a 200 or a certain amount versus a percentage, if anything. But I wanted to hear from others. Do we feel that we have enough information?
I'm leery of doing this without the full council here. But here's something I'd like to throw out. And first, I'd like to couch this by saying that, you know, I think Ben is doing a great job for the city. And so, I mean, that's the way I'm going to couch this, but I also want to look long-term. And so what I propose, I'm fine with the vacation time, whether it's 12 or 13 hours, that's fine from my perspective. But the 2% set aside for retirement, what I would like to, how I'd like to couch that is that this goes into, 2% is fine, but the caveat is that that's only if Ben stays here for the next 5 years, it accumulates. So 2% this year, 2% next year, 2% 3 years, and then after 5 years, then he can cash that out.
Fully vested.
So that 10%. So, and then if Ben does not stay here for 5 years, then that goes back into the general fund. And so there's a carrot there. And so I like that approach, but I wouldn't want to vote on that tonight. But I just like you to chew on it.
It's not really up to you, but it's up to us. But are you okay? I mean, I want to work for you on that, but I also would like all 7 of us here, but we can also backdate it to the date. I mean, whatever we decide we'll go back to a month or 2 ago, right?
Is there something already in place? Something like that, like a retirement currently?
We have Morgan PERS that
Right, but this 2% would be
This would
aside
be
from.
so we have deferred compensation plans already voluntary that people can add to. But yeah, this would be specific to me, 3%.
Companies that's not in place or anything like that.
The city paying for it.
I'm
But then
just-
employees can voluntarily contribute.
But the deferred compensation for 5 years, that Ben stays there for 5 years, that's kind of a nice carrot. And then that would grow with interest, you know, and investment. And so it would be more than the 2% per year. So to 10, 12, 14, 15%, depending on how it was invested. So I think that would be a nice carrot.
Then after 5 years, it's fully vested, so he
Right.
gets that
Then
plus every additional 2 years.
You like, I'm out of here.
I agree. I mean, I like that idea. I like also the fact that not all of us are here.
Paying.
As I was saying, that I don't like the fact that we're all not here to make that vote. But I also am worried about having this discussion when we are having other discussions about funding the police department and funding, be able to, the residents be paying more for utilities. So I'm a little hesitant having this conversation, especially if it's something that hasn't been in place before and it's something that we want to budget again.
I'm not all that hesitant because it costs a lot of money to get a new city manager. That's expensive.
I do need to look at them separately. I mean, this is our leader of our city managers package. We want to keep him, and we do believe he's doing a great job. You saw our last annual review. We've already offered the 5% merit increase. And so I would like to entertain these other ones, but I would like to, just
Not until full council.
unless you want to come back.
Would you
before
be
and talk
comfortable
about-
out during the 13 vacation? We could fund the other one that seems a little more in depth.
Okay with 13
13,
days.
yeah.
Someone want to make a motion then for 13 paid vacation hours per completed month?
Yeah, I don't think we need a full council for that one.
Oh, and if they're not here, then that's too bad for them, right? Okay, so do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the portion of Manager Bergner's contract to include 13 hours per month. Paid vacation.
13 hours, yeah.
Motion by Counselor Haugen
Is that
to,
back to March?
yeah,
The March.
Effective March
Okay, yeah.
1st.
increase paid vacation hours per completed month of service to 13 per completed month of service dated to March. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Counselor Santiago. Any more discussion? Seeing that, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll.
And I'll do some research about the vesting, see legality behind that. I don't know how that works. I know the state
It's
does it.
legal.
But I don't know what the city side if we have
It's
something. like that.
legal.
I know, I just don't know if we have something to say that we have to
If
sell it
it's
on.
not, you have to pay up.
Well, well, and I would put a contingent, like if you fire me, that's not my head.
I also would like to look at, a certain, if we do any dollar amount per like 100, 200, you're just a set dollar
Yeah.
amount instead of a
But the full
percentage.
council, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to, Scappoose City Council student rep discussion and approval.
Okay, now I'm gonna suggest that if you let me take this over, I think I
Please.
can expedite it so they can get out of here at a reasonable hour. Okay, first of all, the first question is, do we agree that we want to have a student rep for next year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that section is now, before you is was last year's version,
One page.
right? Okay, and what I'm gonna do is just read the edits that I suggest.
Do we have the same edits?
And I have this pen version.
I think we read on all this. I don't think they're with that.
Okay, so starting at the top, we changed 2025, 2026 to 2026, 2027. On the second sentence, where it says this role is open to current juniors and seniors, that will be changed to current sophomores and juniors. And then either I or someone will be at the city at this for lunchtime, maybe NJ or someone will join me to talk to anybody that's interested. Tyler currently has about how many recruits?
The people who I have on my list, I think it's around 8.
Okay, so we've got a good base there. Okay, then everything else stays the same, except we'll add one bullet point under where it says student representative will, there's another bullet point where it says will also interact with other youth councils in the League of Oregon Cities. That'll be an addition. And then under application timeline and submission, at the first sentence, all application materials. Okay, that date will change from September 11th to May 14th at 5 p.m., which is a Thursday. The last sentence on the bottom of the first page, that will change to from September 15th, 2025 to May 18th, 2026. And then everything stays the same on the back side, except for after likely interview topics, they'll put a footnote. And the footnote at the bottom will be interviews will be recorded and made public as a note, so that precludes any parental issues. So if everyone is good with that, we will proceed then with getting the applications over to the high school. And Tyler will facilitate the recruitment.
Joel, could I ask a question I'm curious about? If you were, let's say you were selected as as a junior next year, and then if you were in your senior year, 2 years from now, could you fulfill this role, or would it have to go to someone else, even
No,
if you were an incumbent?
You can reapply.
I think
Oh.
for continuity, that would be best because the biggest issue with this, I just don't have enough time to
Right.
be able to, and part of that was the youth council was like, get multiple people to carry this out. But if you have someone who's working over multiple years and has specific vision, I feel like that is just as effective.
Does it say eligibility? Was it just sophomore, junior? Did I hear that right?
Right, current sophomores and juniors.
Yeah, I was debating whether changing the language to rising juniors and seniors.
I see. Okay.
Because the reason why we've expedited this instead of doing it at the beginning of the year, next year, or the beginning of the school year to now is I got a request from Mr. Kelly, our principal. All of their schedule is on deciding all of their student government and stuff. That's all like happening right now. And so he requested that, and I think it works better with us too, is for this to happen now.
So when we start the school year in September, and we'll encourage the selected student rep to participate, but it will be the school year responsibility.
Also, so that we can plan stuff like Day at the Capitol and be able to be aware of LOC and all that other stuff, because that was something that kind of caught me off guard and we missed those deadlines. So starting now is better. I can also work with whoever it is over the summer and work with them through this process currently.
Do we do the interviews May 18th and pick one then?
Yeah.
Or do we pick it? the
Well,
next
we
meeting?
do the interviews, so we can belong to pick it before the end of the school year.
So like first meeting in June, second meeting somewhere. And then they could be here throughout the summer.
And I would be able to be
Yeah.
there to hand myself off.
Yeah.
Do I need to make a motion to approve this or with the changes or can we just make this as the application? Because you have to submit on May 14th, which will be before our next meeting.
Yeah, I would motion that.
Okay.
Just formalize it.
I'm looking for a motion to accept the student representative's application with the amended changes.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to approve the student representative to Scappoose City Council overview as amended.
Counselor Marquis makes a motion to approve. Counselor Santiago seconds. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll get you an update, Susan. And get her an update and make all those changes. Moving on, calendar. Earth Day event Saturday at Heritage Park. May 4th, council work session and council meeting. Every Saturday in May, farmers market 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. May 18th, council work session at 6 p.m. followed by city council 7 p.m. EDC scheduled for the 21st at this time, May at noon. City offices will be closed May 25th in observance of Memorial Day. And I do think we have May 11th as a budget committee meeting. City update, city manager Ben Bergener.
Mayor Backus. Just a reminder for those who have signed up, League of Oregon Cities Spring Conference is this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I believe. I know Joel, I'm gonna be there, I'll be there. So with that, I won't be there for Earth Day if the council's having a event or not. So we'll work with Susan to work through any of those schedules. I assume the same with Joel, will be gone until Saturday. But yeah, second reminder is Earth Day, obviously this Saturday for all people in the community. Go visit that. It's a great opportunity to do some service. As we heard from the Scappoose Bay Watershed, we've heard from the library, and NJ's done a lot of work on that as well. I know you helped the planting last year, right? Done a lot of volunteering. So
Highway cleanup too, yeah.
yeah, a lot of good stuff that the community puts together. It's a great event. And the other notification for me, the week of May 4th, kind of mentioned earlier, I will be out of office on vacation for that full week. Days out of that week, as I say. So, other than that, something else tonight just escaped me for now. A lot of great things going on with the city as I've been putting together the budget. I'm excited to work with the council for that. As you've heard, some street projects, we have some parks projects, some really good things going forward. Do you have any questions from the department head updates at all? We'll stick with that for now.
Great. Thank you. Chief Llewellyn.
Yes, once again, good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and people online too is watching. So, like I already said, Earth Day, come by. We'll be doing our police patties, delicious. I'll be cooking them up myself. We'll also be assisting with the Little League Parade. That's to be on Saturday too as well, just with traffic control, which will be at Veterans Park coming up here. For police department wise, we have our 2 officers still making through the FTEP process or field training process. If things continue to go well, within the next month or 2 should be hopefully solo status going forward. This week I'm be out of office doing some leadership training. It's kind of hosted by the FBI in Clackamas County. And last but not least, in honor of National Volunteer Week, thank you, council. I know there's a lot of things that people don't see you guys do and help lead the city. So besides any questions, that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
I don't have any questions at this moment. I'll come up with something, but
All
thank
right.
you. Student Rep Tyler.
It'll be good to see you all at Earth Day celebration. I'll be working the Scappoose Bay Watershed Council tent because of the deal I made with my mom, but I'll be around. I'll have some the patties and it'll be great. Really, this will be the last meeting before I hand it off. I'd say it's really great to be working with you guys, and this is a great experience for me. So I really appreciate all of you start choosing to have this position.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for doing this and getting the ball rolling. It will really take off. And like George Washington, you'll be the first. That'll be great. Councilor Marquis.
Thank you. I would like to announce for those of you who don't know that the Scappoose Vision dance team won the state championship in the jazz category. Salem about, I guess it's a month, 6 weeks ago now. So I don't believe the dance team has ever taken home state before now. And I didn't see a whole lot of recognition in the community, so I just wanted to make that known. I think one of the middle school teams also took first in one category at state.
Thank you. Councilor Haugen.
Just a real quick positive note to end the school year, more or less. Well, actually kind of continuing the school year, but this afternoon, an 8th grade girl, I believe, broke the national record in the 3,000 meters. So this is truly exciting when you have and I believe she holds the national record in the 1,500. So this is probably going to be our first Olympian, if she continues the way at this rate, to be the first Olympian out of the United States, and maybe the Los Angeles Olympics. So that's pretty cool. And for a small town to have a standout like that, that's really special. So I think we can all kind of pat ourselves on the back to have people in the community.
You got nothing to do with it. No, that's
Appreciate
great.
it. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Santiago.
I'd just like to, first, Chief, thank you for your service and your report, because I enjoyed reading it. Then thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's important to have that discussion of how we're spending money, what we're thinking about, and just make sure that we're, transparent to everybody. So thank you for bringing that up. Tyler, great. I know we didn't get to know each other as much as I wanted to, sorry, but you are the perfect candidate for being the first student council, and you've done a great job. You're a very grown-up young man. So I really appreciate you being here, and thank you.
Yeah, he'll be back one more meeting.
One more meeting, which gets me I will be out on May 18th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, appreciate it, Tyler, for your service this year. Thank you very much. Thanks all the staff. Appreciate all your detailed reports. And Earth Day, I'll be riding around on my electric bike planting trees. See, I'm sitting at a booth. Appreciate our guests sitting through. Thought I was lying when I said 4-hour meeting, but it was right. I appreciate it. Meeting adjourned.